Yeah, Sunday, Hey, I'm back in my bag, I know they missing me. Ay, you know I go hard until they finish me. Ay, I wake up and grind, they try to limit me. Highway to heaven, you know we run high intensity. That's right. I'm back in my bag, I know they missing me. Ay, you know I go hard until they finish me. Ay, I wake up and grind, they tryna limit me. Highway to heaven, you know we run high intensity. Sundays with Justin, Mondays we hustling, Tuesdays still training, by Wednesday it's draining, shot wet like it's raining. It's not though, try to knock me off my pivot, I'm straight to the block though. I can't do no pump fake, still watch out for the block though. I'm not your average player, I'm all-star status. Give all y'all answers, not no ball hog, bastard jump shot, look synthetic, but it's all natural. Body full of ice like I got back from.
What's up, y'all? It's Coach Justin. We're here again at the Sit Down Podcast. We have a very, very special guest, my guy, Padraic Ryan. How's it going?
Oh, man, I'm really, really happy to be here.
I'm happy you're here, man. I can't lie. This is honestly my very first interview that I've done research for.
Really?
I swear.
Damn.
And I'm on like in my episode in my 50s. I usually just come in, and I've interviewed a lot of people I've never met. Like yourself, obviously, this is our first time meeting. Right. I'm glad we met.
Me too.
But yeah, just your story is so intriguing, man. And I'm one of those, like, I'm kind of nosy in a way. You know what I mean? But it's with good intention because
Absolutely.
I feel like I can learn and be inspired from a bunch of people's stories because we all went through things.
Everybody.
And we're more alike than we think.
No, absolutely. And I just need you to know that you inspire me,
That's
man.
dope.
Because
I appreciate that.
I've been following what you're doing. And,
That's dope.
You know, as we talked about a little bit, you know, this is me sort of coming out of my shell a little bit. And just to be able to do it with somebody who I have some connections to and admire and comes from where I come from, it feels safe and it feels comfortable. So thank you.
Well, I appreciate that, man. I love great words, man. So let's jump right into it, man. Take us back to young Padraic, how it was for you growing up, born and raised, and then we'll just go from there.
No doubt. Well, it's quite a story, and how much time we got? No,
as much as we need.
So young Padraic, I was actually born in Washington, D.C.
Really?
Yeah. I was born in Washington, D.C. because my father was going to Howard, believe it or not. So my dad went to Howard Law School. Okay. Studied under Thurgood Marshall.
Oh, wow.
This is back in the 60s during the Civil Rights Movement. They came and they reached out to white students, I guess. Actually, I don't even think he graduated college, so I don't even know how he got into it. But anyway, he my sister would know. She does all the research. She's the brains of the outfit. Shout out my sister Kelly Ryan. So Pops went to Howard. And it was so with SNCC and all that, they came and they had certain white students that they were getting ready to be a part of the movement, and he was a part of that. But I was a baby when we moved back. My dad grew up in the city. My mom grew up on the East Coast. So when he finished, we moved back to San Francisco in the Fillmore district, and so I was like, 2 years old or something when I moved back to the city, or when I moved to the city with the family. So grew up, in that environment, and then we got a house, a crazy house, a dope ass house, sort of Upper Haight area. Okay. Which at the time, like looking back, I think they said it was like $50,000 or something.
Which sounds crazy.
Crazy. Now, right? And probably back then they were probably like, how can we afford it?
Exactly.
I think that house just sold for like $4 million or something.
Wow. That's incredible.
Right.
Put me into a time frame around the time when.
So I was born in 1968. I'm an older cat. I'm 53. So I was born in 68.
You don't look it.
I appreciate it. I'm trying to hold on. I'm trying to hold on. But yeah, I moved to the city. So 1968. San Francisco was a much different place at that time. I lived in the Fillmore for a while, and we moved sort of the Haight area. But my parents were my mom's still alive. Just amazing people, man. They was heavily involved in the movement. Had all kind of people around us. My pops was a really, really talented criminal defense attorney.
Really,
like one of the best in the country.
Really,
I mean, he was a monster, yo. He was a monster. But he had a lot of issues, and we'll get into that at some point. But he really, really struggled. Alcohol got involved, all that, and kind of. Can we cuss on here? Okay, he kind of fucked off his career, but for a time he was the man. But young Padraic was, the youngest of two kids. My sister Kelly is 2 years older than me, and definitely big sis. I was a real loving kid. I was real sensitive and all those things. I was a little baby brother, and big sis had to protect me and all.
Were you guys? I can tell by the way when you speak about her, how you kind of light up. You guys are really close, huh?
Very close, man. That's my.
Was it always like that?
I mean, you know, we
siblings are going to be siblings.
Are siblings,
right.
and she recognized that I was sensitive, and she knew she had to harden me up a little bit. You know what I mean? I mean, we had these rooms that were adjoined by a bathroom in the middle, and there was a few fights.
That was like the boxing ring.
That was the boxing. And fucking meet at the sink and have it out. But yeah, no, my sister Kelly is my best friend, and she's an amazing. She actually went on to become a lawyer.
Wow.
So I'm the only now. I'm definitely the different one in the family. So
really?
she's the lead research attorney for the State Court of Appeals. She's a beast. But yeah, no, she's really special, and she protected me and really brought me along. You know what I mean?
So you guys being 2 years apart, did you guys grow up like sharing mutual friends, or kind of was it like a separate lifestyle growing up?
Yeah, that's a great. So it was separate. I mean, you know, when you're a younger brother, you know, or you're an older brother, little brother is cramping your style.
Right,
so it's like, get the hell out of here, right? But we were all, but I mean, we were always kind of around. We knew each other's friends or something, but we didn't hang out. But she knew all of my friends, and I had great friends, and they were like her little brothers. So there was that kind of connection, but we didn't move in the same circles in terms of socially going out and stuff like that.
That makes sense.
She did her thing, I did my thing.
So how was young Patrick, obviously in school, like early on?
I mean, early on, middle on, late on, school was a real struggle for me.
Really?
A real struggle for me, yeah. I mean, I've always, I mean, I'm a bright guy, but
obviously.
Thank you. But school was just a struggle. And looking back on it, having a kid who had dyslexia, which...
You have a kid that...
Well, yeah, one of my kids had dyslexia. Wow. And, you know, when... You also have to put it in context, and I was talking about this with a friend of mine, like in my day, in terms of education, it was sink or swim. You either got it or you didn't.
Right.
You know what I mean? There was no extra time. Nobody was thinking. Dyslexia back then, we thought it was reading backwards. I come to find out, having had a child who went through it, that it's really just a generic phrase for a learning difference. You learn differently. I'm sure I had that because, you know, it just was a struggle for me. I was a really good writer, but anything beyond writing and history, I just never had a good study skills and that kind of stuff.
That's interesting to me. And I say that because writing is a creative thing.
No, for sure.
And sometimes I feel like creatives can have this amazing way to express themselves, but it kind of blocks out a lot of other things because it's not, there's no relatability in that. Yeah. You can't relate to numbers. You know,
I definitely I took algebra as a senior, so I had a problem with math, man. So I think that's true. Right? I mean, I don't know if it's left brain, right brain.
Right. Yeah, me neither. I don't know the technical.
But you know, it just was a struggle, and so school this is always something that I never really. I mean, I had years that I did okay, but you know, I bounced around a lot. I was a kid who, like I said, I got picked on a lot, so I was getting in fights all the time.
Really.
Yeah, and I bounced around from school to school.
Before we get into that part of it, when it comes back to school, and I'm thinking early. So, are you applying yourself, or are you just like, fuck this, I'm off it because I can't figure it out?
That's a good question. It was probably like chicken and egg thing. I don't know what came first. I think.
That's deep.
I think again, having a child who went through it, I definitely think that I had those issues as well. But because there was no identifiers of that back then, it just wasn't on anybody's radar. Probably frustration set in, and then, but I think also, holding myself accountable, there was times when I just didn't do the work. I knew I was smart.
Right.
I knew I was smart when it came to essays. I was crushing it, man. I mean, but
I feel like for myself growing up, because school was always almost too easy for me, and I wasn't very technically smart. I was only interested in the things that I was interested in, if that makes sense. So I would like, if it was something that caught my attention, I can pick that shit up like that.
No, for real.
But I developed so many bad habits because it was so easy.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to do my homework because I was going to ace all the tests.
I think my sister had some of those issues.
Yeah.
I think she had the same, because she was basically a straight A student the whole time. But I think she's articulated that she didn't work hard, I think, until law school. I think I've heard her say that. She just was easy for her.
And you know what's crazy? I get to college, right? Obviously, like I told you earlier, I played basketball in college, and it made me lose all respect for college. I read an article called "Colleges for Suckers," and it talks about how
This was when you was in school or after?
my freshman year in college, English class, first assignment I had in school.
Wow.
And I'll never forget this, as you can see. And the teacher's name was like Mr. Ekstrom or something. He was like this real quirky white dude. But anyway, so the article talks about how you have these people who graduate with PhDs from Harvard and all these things, and they're out here begging for change. And then you'll have somebody who didn't go to college at all, and because of who their parents are,
about that, right.
or because
working hard,
exactly. But I don't want to equate those two things, because those are two different things.
But it's
to
true,
me. Right? So at that moment, and then I have dudes where I'm at a Division I at the time at New Mexico State.
Oh, okay.
So I got teammates.
Funny story about that.
Really?
Yeah.
So I got teammates and shit who can't even read, and they're getting 3.8 GPAs. So when I get to school, I'm like, I wanted to be an architectural engineer. Right? And off the bat, that was like my dream job. So I go to my compliance and I'm like, yeah, that's what I want to do. And they're like, nah, that's too hard for you to do with basketball. It's too much work.
How you gonna make that decision?
And I'm like, there's like, let's try you with criminal justice. No, I don't want to go into criminal justice. So I say all that to say, I don't even know why I brought that up, but it's just
about school and
right. Oh, the credibility in college.
Yes.
That's what it was. So yeah, just going through that, it was like, you know what, bro? Then I had professors where in the syllabus you see, you will not pass this class unless you buy this book, and then you look at the author of the book, and it's the professor that's teaching the class.
They do that?
What?
Oh shit!
Are you kidding me? The textbook for the class will be their own book.
Wow. And
I'm like, oh yeah, bro. Then I'm taking, let's say, psychology 101, and so is my teammate, and we're learning two different things. And it was just, I'm a question guy, so I'm just like,
this is not right.
Yeah, this something doesn't add up, and I continued at it just to make my mom and them happy, and play sports obviously. But I fell out of love with that shit so early on, man,
because
and it affected basketball.
I bet.
Yeah, but let's jump.
No, I love. I trust me, I want to learn about you too.
Right.
New Mexico State. Don't forget that.
Yeah.
That comes full circle.
Okay,
but
that's hilarious.
I mean, yeah, school is a. It's funny you say that book, School is for Suckers. Like, I have very strong feelings about education and stuff in terms of it can be a complete waste of time.
Right.
Because, I'm a college dropout. I ended up doing like a year and a half of college, but I'm more successful to your point than a lot of people who went to college.
Right.
Although you could say that the apprenticeship is getting a degree in construction. It's not, it's not college, but I think if you're going to go to college, it should be for something.
A specialty.
It should be, right, or even like getting a certification or something.
Right.
I used to tell my kids, unless you're going and getting pedigree like from Ivy League or from a top-notch school, I don't know. Unless you really, really committed to something, you might think of something else.
Right, and that's okay.
It's a philosophy, but everybody, has a path. I don't want to discredit college,
exactly,
but it's just I've seen it not pay out for a lot of people.
100%.
You know what I mean?
And like you just said, we're all just speaking of our perspective. Right. Nobody's speaking factual.
That said, I will say this. Being a successful businessman, and this is something for people to think about as they make decisions on go to school. There's been plenty of times. I mean, believe me, I'm a very confident person.
Right.
But there's a lot of times I'm in business settings and I'm around people who have business degrees, and I'm like, these motherfuckers know something I don't know, or they know how to look at stuff in a way that I don't. And my partner doesn't have a degree either. He's got
That's interesting.
He came at, from a sideways perspective too, in terms of getting through the trades. But it's, there's value in it. So I don't want to just dismiss it like, it's the discipline of it. It's finishing something you started.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Networking.
Networking's big.
Yeah.
Networking's big.
Some of my closest friends I still speak to this day I met in college from all over the place.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So you ended up finishing?
School?
I
didn't finish school.
You didn't finish school
I have like
either.
a semester left.
Yeah. Okay.
I was just talking to somebody about this.
You gonna go grab it?
Yeah, I'm gonna go grab it.
Yeah, you might as well.
I have two people. More than two people, but my mom and there's a lady named Lauren Edwards. It's so funny that you have me talking about this right now.
It's all good. That's why we're here.
I promise you I was planning to do this, but there's a lady named Lauren Edwards this lady is like, I don't even know where she's working at right now, but somewhere in SoCal. She is like one of the most amazing people I ever met in my life.
That's so cool.
When I say this,
where'd you meet her at? In New Mexico?
At Cal State Dominguez Hills.
Oh, okay.
So
Dominguez
this lady spent her summer helping me get back into school.
Isn't that something?
And it's just, I can go on and on about this lady.
Isn't that something?
I owe it to her to go back and
man.
finish school.
Shout out to her, man. Shout out to Lauren. Man, that's beautiful.
Lauren Edwards.
That's beautiful.
No, she's amazing.
I love hearing that.
But anyway, let's get back into your story, man. So early on in school, you kind of
struggled.
Right. Before you tap out, how is your behavior in school at this point?
I mean, I was never a just total knucklehead in school. I was, I was an athlete. I played baseball and basketball, so you can't get too far out.
Right.
You don't get to play.
Right.
Although I remember in high school, there was. Well, I call it grammar school. I don't call it that anymore, right? In middle school, I guess, right? In middle school, for us, it was just all about hoops. I mean, we was talking about this a little bit. San Francisco had an incredible basketball world going on when I was coming up. Like, this is when the city was much more diverse. You had families in the city. You had families, you could be a janitor and afford the city. You could be a construction worker. Or you could be a teacher. You could be, a blue-collar job or whatever.
That's so interesting.
It was families everywhere.
Do you live in the city now?
Yes, I do.
How? I don't want to cut you off.
No,
please don't forget where you are.
I won't. No, we're good.
Can you? Because I'm not from the city. I'm from Oakland, obviously. Talk about from then and now, how much less of a community aspect do you feel?
It's like I'm fiercely proud of being from San Francisco, but it just is it's tough, man. It's definitely a different city, right? And I'd be having to check myself, man, because I'm sure it's the same for you at Oakland. When you have all these newcomers, and they move like it's they shit, it can get you. I be having to man, don't go there, Pete.
Yes.
And they aggressive with their shit.
It's like you owe them something.
You wouldn't even walk down this street 10 years ago.
Only if they knew.
And I'd be really having to check myself because I still have, my temper or whatever.
Right.
And I've had a few situations. Not even on no tough guy shit. Where I'll get into it with some gent and I'll be like, yo, I'm from here. I'll fuck you up.
You got to remind them.
And I say it just like that.
I go through the same shit, though. I go through the same shit. It's like, come on, bro.
I'm from here. I will really fuck you up.
Yes. And see, I live, obviously, where my studio is located. I live right up the hill.
Okay.
So, again, you see my location. Yeah. So I'm dealing with a lot of that same shit. Like, come on, bro. Like, let's not do this.
No.
You don't have to mean mug me when you cross the street. I'm letting you go.
And they be nervous. And they be
they so tough.
Don't get me on the bicycle riders. Yo, it's crazy.
Those are the bullies of the streets, man.
Man, they just mad at you for having a car.
It's crazy.
So, but the community aspect is definitely not gone. I mean, there's pockets of it, right? But like when I go back to the Mo, I know which blocks to go to where I might be able to run into some folks, but. People moved out, people went away, you know what I mean? All kind of things happen. And so it's definitely not there like it was. But the basketball, and I know it was the same in Oakland. The basketball, talk about a sense of community, you battled against people and then you played for them in the summer, played with them on a summer team. Yeah, we didn't have really AAU back then. What you mean, but and then in high school, you battling and stuff. It just was, it was a magical time in the city. The money hadn't come in yet.
Yeah.
It was kind of a small town.
That's interesting.
It was a big city, but it was a little big city.
Yeah.
And it was a very we back then it was a nickel to get on the bus. Damn, I sound old as hell, yo. You put a nickel in the bus and they gave you a paper transfer.
Right.
And man, we was on the bus all day. You couldn't get us back in the house.
How was it for somebody like you to witness those times and now see where we are today?
Yeah, it's tough, right? It's tough.
Has to be bittersweet.
It's bittersweet, right? Because I'll give you a story. I'll give you a story. So, and this is where we have to check ourselves, right? Because gentrification is not all bad.
Right.
I'll give you a story. So, Hayes Valley. Mm-hmm. Did you know Hayes Valley before it was the current iteration? So back in the day, there was the Central Freeway off-ramp.
Okay.
So you know where Hayes is, right? Mm-hmm. That used to be a off-ramp from, what is that? When you get off the bridge, I don't know, is it 80 still, whatever?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And it would dump you off on the Octavia.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about? Did you ever take that or no?
Yeah, I'll take it. I'll go that way now.
But I'm saying back when.
No.
Okay, so there was and so under that freeway was a dope track and a hoe stroll.
Really?
Straight up. Like it was gully.
Really?
Like it was gully.
And now you can never imagine.
So now it's this, they tore, after the earthquake, they tore down the off-ramp. And then now it's, and then it got gentrified. Now it's this. So one day in the city, I used to get my hair cut over in that area. And so I had to get my hair cut. And it was one of those days in the city where all these Gentro activities were going on. And they had
Gentro activities. I love it. Did you make that up?
I just now, yeah.
I love it.
So they had like hella street closures. So I had to, my office is in Dogpatch. I had to drive like all the way damn near out to the Panhandle and come back just because all the Gentro street closures, right? And I'm hot. I'm all mad in my car, right? So I get to Hayes Valley as it is now, and I'm like, you know what? Fuck this, man. I'm finna let these motherfuckers know what it used to be like. So at that moment in my car, Biggie, Who Shot You came on. So I dropped all the windows in the car. I'm blasting that shit. I'm like, yeah, this is what it used to be like. And I'm all in my shit. Like,
That's
I'm just
hilarious.
like, I'm all upset. So then I park the car. I have a little bit of time before my haircut. And I park and I'm like, fuck, I'm hungry, man. I got like, 30 minutes. Let me go grab a bite. So I walk out of my car, and as I'm walking to where the place I get my hair cut, I see all these food trucks. And one of them is this pizza truck, Casey's Pizzas, really good pizza. And so I grabbed a slice of pizza, but I had never had it. So I grabbed a slice of pizza. I'm eating the pizza. I look around, it's families everywhere, it's beautiful, it's artwork everywhere, eating the best pizza I've had in a long time. I go, this is fucking awesome.
It was like a complete...
I was like, you're so full of shit, Pete. I hear you are all mad and shit, and then all of a sudden you like look around like, there's no way, so let's just take that. There's no way that Hayes Valley as it is now isn't better than the Hayes Valley when I was there.
Right.
Because it was just pimps and hoes and drugs and everything else.
That's real shit, though.
So we have to check ourselves sometimes. Like, we can't be against progress, but the word you use is spot on. It's bittersweet. You love to see your city grow and develop and evolve, but when you lose that culture, when you lose the people that made it special, that's where it comes in.
That's a fact, man. That was a gem right there, man. You dropping them over there, man. So let me back into the story a little bit. Who got you into hooping? Or sports, let's say sports.
Yeah, I think my dad did. Like, and my dad, like I say, he was a challenge, man. I mean, he fucked up a lot. He was pretty abusive to me and my sister and my mom. But, and we're going to talk about mental health. As I've been in therapy and stuff, my therapist was asking me about him, and he was like, so your dad didn't show you any affection? I'm like, no, actually he did. And he was like, ooh. I said, what the fuck the ooh mean?
Right.
Ooh, what the fuck is ooh? And he's like, and my therapist is great. He keeps it real with me. He's like, that's tough. He's like, you couldn't just throw him away. If he was just an asshole all the time,
that's interesting.
Right. I never thought of that, Jay. I never thought of that. Never thought of that. Like, and he was like, the fact that he could pull you back in with love, affection, and to your question, sports. He gave me my start in sports. He was a real good baseball player, which was actually the sport I was best in. But the biggest gift he gave to me, and I'll always give him this, is my love for music.
Really?
Yeah, man. He had everything playing in our household, man. Everything. And he always had the fresh stereo shit and the headphones. And
what is your nationality?
I'm Irish and Italian.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm Irish and Italian.
My mentor hit that spot on. That you were
really?
Italian, yeah.
She called that? Yeah.
He.
Oh, he. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I'm Irish and Italian, and again, my sister, she's been doing research of our family. I'll show you some pictures when we take. The family history is crazy, man.
Really?
Like, and my sister's just so brilliant. Like, she researches for her job, so she has ways of researching that normal people don't have. Man, she done found the family history. Yo, we come from a fucking bunch of Irish hooligans, bro.
Really?
In the city. Our Italian side was this great guy named Zeffy Milani, and Zeffy was a sweetheart. And again, all of this I have because of my sister, Kelly. I love you. Thank you for teaching me this shit.
Is fire, though.
Yo, Zeffy Milani, we missed out on generational wealth 2 times because of Zeffy.
Really?
Dumbass.
Really?
Zeffy, you want the story?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Zeffy had one of the first poultry businesses in the city. Well, he had one of the first refrigerated trucks in that business. So he was a good entrepreneur. Zeffy was a hustler.
He's popping at this time.
And he had a buddy named A.P. Giannini. So Zeffy, he rolling around in his poultry truck doing his thing, and that's the Italian side. Yo, the earthquake hits, 1906, the earthquake hits, and then the fires break out. And Giannini runs to Zeffy And Kelly, if I had this wrong, I'm making it up. But I think I'm pretty spot on. So Zeffy, Giannini runs to Zeffy. Zeffy, I need you to put the money in your truck so it doesn't burn. Zeffy's like, yeah, no problem. So Giannini puts $2 million in Zeffy's truck in 1906. That's a grip back in 1906. So Zeffy saves Giannini's fortune. Giannini then goes on to hit a big-ass lick, I think probably based on the fire from insurance claims and all that shit. And Giannini had a little bank called the Bank of Italy, which became the Bank of America.
Wow.
Zeffy didn't get shit.
No fucking way.
Shit. I love Zeffy, but goddamn Zeffy.
Well, you did start this off with saying he's a sweetheart.
Sweetheart. It gets worse.
No way. It
It gets fucking worse. So then she discovers that we had property in Sonoma. So a lot of Northern Italians moved here because the topography, I think that's the right word, topography, is the same, rolling hills, and it looks like Northern Italy. Yeah, that's why Martinez, like the Joe DiMaggio and them, I think used to live in a lot of Northern Italians came here. So we had some land in Sonoma. And fucking Zeffy, Zeffy. And she found the clipping on a handshake deal. A handshake deal sells the land to a cat named, drum roll, Samuel Sebastiani.
I don't know who that is.
Sebastiani Winery.
No fucking.
Which just sold for $300 fucking million. So Zeffy fucked us twice. Zeffy totally fucked us.
Incredible.
Yeah, me and my sister are like, God damn it.
See, this is why I don't need to go do family research.
Dude, it's horrible.
I'll have resentment.
But on the Irish side, this is a rag. This is like Peaky. You watch Peaky Blinders? Oh, it's a great show on Netflix. The matriarch, Julia Ryan, I'll show you the picture. Julia Ryan was one of the first women to go to San Quentin for perjury because her hooligan ass sons was hitting licks left and right. And she was like, nah, he was with me. And the most notorious of all of them was, of course, Patrick Ryan.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
So I ask all that to say, would you say your father's music taste was broad?
I'm all over the place.
No. That's great though.
Okay,
that's great. Right. Where does that come from? Or do you know?
I mean, look, again, as he's a complicated guy, as fucked up as he was to us in so many ways, and he was brutal. More emotional and verbal abuse than physical, right. but he dabbled in the physical too. But the dude was an incredible cat, man. Like, I met people. I met a judge one time in San Francisco, and he was like, man, your father was the most dynamic attorney I ever saw, man. He was just alcohol took his whole shit away, man. But he was, and I've talked to friends of his that are just like, yo, your dad was amazing, man. He was this white guy who was really passionate about civil rights. Mm-hmm. And, he just was he was successful. He just had a lot of people around him. So I imagine, he was just an open-minded cat. Like, he was ahead of his time. And I don't know why he loved music, but he would play, Songs in the Key of Life, which is, I'll argue with anybody, is the greatest album in the history of music, Stevie Wonder. Mm-hmm. But, like even on my album, I sampled something from Jimmy Cliff's Harder They Come. I had Jimmy Cliff Harder They Come album, movie playing in the house. Miles Davis, he would play symphony, he would play opera from the Italian side. Like, it was just eclectic and incredible, and wow. That was a gift, man. So where he got it from, I don't know. I don't know if his parents, they were just listening to Frank Sinatra and opera. So I just think he was a child of the 50s and 60s who was a part of the movements. And I think probably so he was exposed to all kind of different shit, and he saw the value of it, and he passed it down.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was a blessing, man, because
that's amazing.
Music is everything to me.
That's amazing. Mm-hmm. So back into the story.
Okay.
You mentioned, let's get to like your teenage years, right? So you mentioned how, obviously you and your father's relationship was, well, just his relationship with the family in general.
Yeah.
In the moment, how much is that affecting you? Are you aware of that effect in the moment?
Man, that's just such a great question, just because, like, I feel like we have a sense of it, but we probably just start reacting to it in our minds in certain ways. And I think the way it affected me, I knew it was fucked up. I knew it was fucked up. I knew the way he was treating my mom. I knew the way he was treating my sister and me was fucked up. I knew, as all children, you are desperate to please your parents, right? We all are. We want to please our parents. We want them to be proud of us. We want them to love us. Acceptance, all of those things. But there definitely was probably sophomore year. You know, my sister left. Kelly, this will turn out to be all about my sister.
She should have came with you.
I know. She's amazing, man. We'll bring her in. She's something else.
Sure.
But my sister left in my sophomore year, and it's funny because you asked how your relationship was. Did you you have siblings?
Yeah, so I'm the middle on my mom's side, and for my dad, I'm the youngest. But
Okay.
I grew up with my mom, so I'm the only boy too.
Okay. For my
mom.
good? Okay. Your old. Do you have an older sibling that you was close to?
Yep.
Did they go off to college?
No,
Okay.
but she moved out.
Do you remember how you felt when she moved out?
Oh yeah.
Did it fuck you up?
Oh, yeah.
See, so
Oh,
look,
yeah.
And you didn't expect it.
I can only explain that now. I didn't know in the moment.
Okay, so I knew in the moment because Kelly, I remember she had a room and I was gonna take her room. I'm like, I can't wait till you leave. I'm getting your room, like all that, like little brothers do.
Same here.
I can't wait till you leave. She left. Man, for 2 weeks I cried all the way to school as a
Really?
sophomore in high school.
Really?
And that was my first moment of like, damn, like I really love her. Like I really fucking adore my sister.
That's fire. I love that though.
I didn't-
See, for my older sister, she's 6 years older than me, and then I'm 6 years older than my younger sister. So she was more so like another mom because my mom still to this day owns her own hair shop.
That's dope.
So my whole life, since before I was
Yeah.
born, I grew up kind of in a hair shop.
That's a lot
You know
of
what I mean?
community right there.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and then my mom's hair shop was right across the street from our house.
Okay.
But my older sister kind of she was like another mom to me. Of
course, absolutely.
So when she
That's what they
left,
do.
it was a lot of like, oh shit.
Now
And
what?
then on top of that, now I had to be that for my younger sister. So now I'm
big.
having to watch my little sister.
Right. You go from being
I'm
little
having
bro
be-
to big bro.
Yeah. So it's like, damn, it's a different dynamic. And then I'm also in the middle of that because I was just talking to my mentor about this. I'm in the middle of that refereeing their relationships
Man.
because I'm the S-type personality to where I'm the calm mannered,
Right.
I'm the mediator.
Yep.
I'm the peacekeeper.
Right.
So yeah, just all of those dynamics. But
You was a point guard or one
Yeah,
or
point
two?
guard,
All right,
point
but there you go.
guard.
That's why. Yeah. that does explain shit.
Yeah.
People's personality comes from that.
sure.
That's a lot. How old were you at that time?
I had to be maybe 12.
Man, that's
11
a lot
12.
for a 12-year-old. Yeah, it was about the same time. What are you, 13 as a freshman?
Yeah, 13, 14.
13, 14, yeah.
So let me ask you this: back to you and Pop's relationship, and again, share as much as you're willing. Being the youngest sibling, did you ever feel pressure or kind of mad at yourself because you felt it was your duty to protect your mom and your older sister, and you weren't able to?
That's an incredible question. Like
Thank you.
absolutely,
Thank
absolutely, and it's ironic because as I've said, Kelly protected me so much, right? But I knew it was fucked up, and so, and this is as you asked me that question, I'm playing it like the way I was sort of figured out how I was going to do that. As I said, I got to get the fuck out of here, man. I gotta go get some independence. I got to figure out how to get some money, and so, when he would either tell me to leave or I would be like, I got to get the fuck out of here, I would go over to my best friend Denfield Wade's house, and Denfield lived in the Mo in Fillmore and Freedom West. And so I would go over there, and because at the time, as we discussed before the thing, I was playing for Sacred Heart Grammar School, which was a basketball dynasty. and so I would go over to the Mo, and Denfield and his family would take me in, and the juxtaposition between my family life and that family life, it was safe, it was comfortable. Obviously they had their own issues too.
Right.
As a visiting kid, you don't really get that, right? And then I would just bounce around. I was couch hopping, man, for years and years. Yeah. But that's why I always talk about why I have so much love for the community, because that community saw a kid who was going through a lot and took me in, man. And every couch I slept on, every family I was with showed me so much love, man. You know what I mean? A couple times it was like, what, that white boy's out on the couch again. What's going on?
Is he okay?
But it was just so much love given to me. And so then, that was kind of, I think, looking back on it, my way of, okay, I got to figure out a way to get some money and all that, and then I'll take care. Like, I remember when my sister went to law school, right before I got shot, I was like, yeah, I'm going to pay for your law school. She's like, what the fuck are you talking about? What are you doing?
But even for you to be that young and have that mindset and thought process, though, to even want to do that, even though you don't know what type of commitment that is.
You really had no idea.
But even to think of that is, I think, is special. And then even to take it a step further, like having that community, and I keep going back to community, having that community, because you were almost also raised by the community.
There is no question.
You know what I mean?
My formative years was spent in the Mo and absolutely raised in that community, man. You know, and it was obviously I'm white. There was times we had money, so I've definitely had privilege in my life. Right. You know, I don't deny that. I don't, you know, and that was the thing. I think that's why the community did embrace me so much, because I never was trying to be something I was not. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I mean, I obviously raised black children, and I used to have conversations with them about the N-word and be like, you know, you don't let nobody non-black say that word around you. You actually get to choose that because you black. Right. But the way I was raised, you don't say that unless you are black. You know what I mean? And we would have those discussions, but I never, you know, now I see, you know, Asian kids, Mexican kids, white kids, they all
whoever feels like it.
And I'm like, yo, I came up around this, like, and I never thought of using it.
I was talking to my cousin last night about this, and I was just telling him how, you know, because we come from because we were talking about just perspectives, and he was like, you know, it's crazy that I was thinking the other day, when as a black guy, when I walk in a room full of white people, I'm always thinking like, damn, I'm the only black person in here. And he was like, but I've been thinking like lately, like, what are the white people thinking in that moment? And I was telling
when they're the only one in the room.
No, when there's only one black person in the room.
No,
you know what I mean. Like there has to be a million different.
Wow,
even walking in and out of this studio, they look at me. Oh, what do you do? They ask me that all the time.
Really?
Yeah. It's like, whatever I feel like.
Man, I like that. Well, I might use that. You know, race has obviously been a massive thing in my life, because you also have to put it in context. This is the 1980s. You know, hip hop is just starting to come about, and I can tell you that it was not cool to be the white kid that was around all black people or that listened to hip hop. It was not the thing to do. Like, that meant that I really was never really was accepted anywhere fully. But if I was accepted anywhere, it was in the black community. Like, I didn't have a white friend until the summer going into my senior year.
Wow.
Because they just would all, oh, you a wannabe, you know, back then they said, they used different phrases, but like, but they never, but all I was doing was being around the dudes that I played basketball with.
You're a product of your environment, man.
This was my best friends. Like,
even knowing where we're going in the story and what kind of happened to you, and obviously we'll talk in more detail about it, but that's still being a product of your environment. For sure. And it's it's in a negative way, but it's like, bro, this is taught behavior in a way. Now, I'm not saying my parents taught me. No. I'm not saying my friends' parents taught me. My friends directly taught me. But in some shape, way, or form, my environment has taught me that this behavior is normalized.
Yes.
And I don't think we don't put enough merit into that, because we're so quick to judge these kids, man. And it's like, still living in the inner city, working in the inner city, still coaching.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, man.
Thank you for doing that. It means
so much to me. So even this, right? And this is what made me come back to coaching high school. And I promise I'm gonna let you finish.
No, I want to hear you. I want to hear this.
I was coaching at Cal State Dominguez Hills. I was in a dark space, depressed. My life was miserable. I had my son at the time. He might have been 1 or 2. I'm living in LA. It's like, man, I'm watching my son grow up through a screen. It's like, man, I'm trying to find my purpose. I'm 2 years removed from still playing the game.
Right, missing it.
I'm selling cars. I don't like getting over on people. You know what I mean? So that shit is, I'm arguing with my fucking managers because they're like, oh, go tell this single mom with 3 kids that her payment is going to be $984. Well, no, my nigga, because we can make it for something. Man. I'm not gonna go do that, bro. I just don't have it in me. How can I tell my son to be a good person and sleep good at night knowing that I'm living like this? Yes. So long story short, I come back home and I take 3 years off from coaching, and I'm telling my dad, I'm like, I'm training all my pro friends and stuff because I'm into it. I love it. So I tell my dad, I'm thinking about getting me a high school job, and he's like, Skyline is opening up, and I'm like, yeah, the only way I'll do the OEL is if it's MAC, which is my high school. So. I make some calls. He's like, man, look into it. So I knew the head coach at the time. So I make some calls.
At Mac.
Yeah, at Mac.
Right.
I make some calls and I find out that my boy's name is 80. I love him to death. He's ready to go. So I'm like, he's like, man, if you want it, you can have it.
Wow.
So long story short, I ended up becoming a coach, but everybody's telling me like, man, Justin, you're so much above this. Cause I'm coming from the collegiate level.
I'm a baller. D1.
Right. So it's like,
yeah.
They're like, I'm talking about coaches in the league that used to coach against me. So they've been knowing me since a kid. They're like, man, don't get wrapped up in this because of how I was telling you earlier how bad it is out here.
Man.
And I told him it was like there's two reasons why I wanted to do it. One, I wanted to see how the speed I saw the game in the head in the pilot seat.
Okay.
I always knew how I saw it as a player. It was always super slow to me. I always could think a few plays ahead, even as an assistant coach. Like, okay, I got this thing. Now let me challenge myself again to see how I view it as a head coach.
Especially with less talent.
Right.
That's real challenge.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm running a full program.
Yeah.
Right. So that was one. The second one was like, this is my way because I'm not financially able yet, but this is my way of having a direct impact on my environment and my community.
Giving back.
Because my YouTube channel was already kind of growing at the time. So yeah, but I can't control who sees that. But this is my way to talk to these kids direct. And again, I know the temptations because I walk these same hallways.
Man.
You know what I mean?
Man.
So
and probably right. And you probably had a little bit more support than a lot of them do.
A lot more.
Than a lot of them
A lot
do.
more.
Yeah.
So I say all that to say, man, it's just so imperative of community is just everything. Because I can be the best parent in the world. The best parent in the world. The moment you walk out that door, there's so many other things to learn from, man. And I have no control over that.
And they're gonna get that more than they're gonna get you.
Yeah.
Really.
And they're more open to that because I'm the mom or the dad.
Right.
You see what I'm
tired
saying?
of your voice after a while. Well, I just want to commend you and thank you for what you're doing because and we'll get into coaching is what kind of took my life the right way.
Right.
But what you're doing, Justin, is so important and so valuable.
Right.
And to have men like you, and especially black men like you, come back and give back to our youth, especially our black male youth.
Right.
It's just, I got chills, man, we just met, but I just have so much love and appreciation for you doing that. It's very, very important.
Yeah.
You're doing God's work, man.
Yeah,
I'm not a big religious guy, but you doing God's work.
Right, for sure. And I appreciate that, man. So let's again, we keep getting off, but I love this though, man.
Great,
I love
man.
this. I love this, and I love when people get me to open up.
Come on, man.
You know what I mean?
Come on, man.
So back into the story. So did you and Pops again share as much as you want? Did you and Pops ever get into like you fighting them back?
Oh, hell yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah. Now, it's funny because he dude had hands, man. Like, it wasn't like he was a pushover, man. Like he was he was also a loving dude sometimes. But he was a scary dude and had
we all have bad sides to it.
I'll give you a funny story. Again, Kelly is just gonna crack up off this interview. To tell you how smart she was, how dumb my ass was, we had a hoop in the back of the house.
Okay.
And we hooping in the back of the house, right? And she's fouling the shit out of me and everything, which ended up being helpful to me. But her thing is, you ain't finna beat me. Yeah, I can't play hoops, but I'm gonna
right.
out of you. So we back there just having a blast, man. And I guess this dude probably had been drinking or whatever, and he taking a nap. And the hoop is
up against the wall.
So it's probably rattling the house or whatever. And he comes down, mad as fuck. And yelling at us, and Kelly is here and I'm here and he's facing us, so he goes to give us a Three Stooges double, a double whammy, and my sister of course goes whoop,
wow, you
boom,
take
my
the whole
dumb ass
thing.
takes the whole fucking thing. And of course she's cracking up, like she's laughing, not at the time. She's like, you should have ducked, dummy.
You bobbed when you should have weaved.
Yeah. But I forget. But that I wasn't ready at that point. But there was my fight back in the beginning was, I don't want to be you. I don't want to be around you. I'm finna bounce, man. And there was times he told me to bounce, but a lot of times I just left and I would just be gone for weeks and months at a time. You know what I mean? Did the fact that you frequented, I don't want to say the hood, but I mean, that's what it was. It was what it was.
Did that kind of help build the confidence to stand up to your pops?
It did, because I remember, it's funny because, Hamilton. You know Hamilton? Hamilton Gym is right there on Geary.
I know the gym. Yeah, I know exactly.
Yeah, it's Hamilton Gym. So I used to be up there all the time, and hoops was my thing. And so I remember the first 2 weeks I was at Hamilton, I was in a fight every day, man.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I was in a fight. So, again, my sister, had to teach me how to fight back early on. So now I'm up here balling, and I was never, I wasn't shy. If I was getting in your ass, you was gonna hear about it. So here it is, this white boy in the gym hitting jumpers on you and talking to you. That's embarrassing, yo.
Right.
Like motherfuckers wasn't having that, man. So I got in a fight for 2 weeks straight, and then like basically every day up in Hamilton. And Vic Creature, man, you know Creech? Well, Creech is one of the OGs in the hood. Like he isn't that much older than me, but he was the man back then, dude. And Creech was watching this for like 2 weeks. Just watching me fight every day, watching me come back every day. And finally, I got into a fight. I don't think I won, but, and that wasn't the point. I lost a lot of them, but I didn't give a fuck. You're not going to punk me. Exactly. That's just not what, because I know the outcome of that is worse than the ass whooping, or not fighting is or making motherfuckers think that they can just dog you out. So finally, after the last one, Chris said, all right, man, yo, this little motherfucker got heart, man. He's with me now. If you fuck with him, you fucking with me.
Wow.
And man, it just that validation and that recognition, it just stuck with me. So then, I was playing with my guys and we just became really, really close. A group of us, man, that went to Sacred Heart. We just became like brothers, man. So I forget what the question was about the fighting back. So
well, did that have something to do with
it? Definitely did. Like I was in a lot of fights and all that. And then fast forward to I think my senior year of high school. My parents had split up, but then senior year of high school, me and my dad went to L.A. because I was flunking out of school, and he was like, well, I'm moving to L.A., so I'm going with you because I knew it was my only chance. So I go to L.A., and there was one day he like ran up on me, and like, it was just two shoves, him shoving me and me shoving the shit out of him back, and like, he was like, okay, this motherfucker's he
coming into a man.
Not that he was afraid of me, but it was a respect
like, thing.
It was like, okay, he not just gonna take this. But senior year was a great year, but then after that, it just continued to go down.
And then now that I think about it, at this point, you're 17, 18, and this is probably with the shit that he's saying to you or the little nitpicking things that he's doing to pick at you.
Yeah,
it's just your norm now. So you're probably good at just
whatever. But again, senior year was my best year academically and all of that. So he didn't have much to complain about. You know what I mean? But so it was a good year. But then it just it didn't sustain.
So how is mom and dad reacting to you going to the hood?
That's an interesting question too, because first it wasn't nothing. I was just, they wasn't tripping. But there was a moment. I remember there was a moment like this, and you got to remember, my dad was so into civil rights and all this. But there was a moment where he was like, all you do is hang around black kids, and I looked at him like, why would that even be an issue? Why would you even bring that up? What does it fucking matter? This is what you taught me. Mm-hmm. This is a human being, whatever they are. Like it did trip me out. Right. It was a trip.
But you know what? You probably reeled him back in and made him like check himself in that moment.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know
whether he admitted it to you or not. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know, but I do remember him saying that, and I was just like, "Damn, dude! Like,
what is that supposed to?
What is that supposed to mean? Right. Like, why does it even fucking matter? This is a human. This is a human. I fuck with who fucks with me. Maybe the reason, and I never broke it down to him, but again, back then it wasn't the lick to be that kid.
Right.
It was very difficult. Yeah. And like I remember when Obama got elected, like it just hit me on a guttural level just because of my struggles. I don't have any of the struggles that black people go through, but like it's a unique thing to go through what I went through, and it just was really a big deal, like just to see, not that it changed shit, because the shit's still fucked up, but it was just like, wow, I never thought I'd see that.
Man.
I never thought I'd see that.
That's what I'm saying. I can only imagine, because I talked to my mom and my dad about this a lot. It's just like, man, the world, even one of my grandparents is still here. She's not biological, but it's like, man, just imagining the world you guys experienced. It's like, I couldn't fathom it.
It was crazy, man. And then what they experienced was different.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
exactly.
Like, and even women, like, like what women went through. Like I talk to my mom about that all the time. Like,
oh man,
it was bad for men. Like, I don't know if you ever watched the show Mad Men. Did you ever watch that? Oh man, it's good show, but like the way women were treated back then, it was real rapey. It was real like creepy and like they went through.
They were literally
shit.
just objects.
That's it.
Yeah.
They weren't even whole beings.
Yeah, they were just. Yeah, that's fucking crazy.
It is fucking crazy.
We're around like how long do you stay in LA?
Stayed in LA probably about 4 years.
Oh, right.
3 or 4 years. Yeah.
So at what point does the incident happen when you get?
I was 92, I believe.
So how old
I graduated 87.
Okay, so this is like shortly after you come back.
Yeah, I came. So I did senior year in LA, and ended up going to Loyola Marymount for like a year and some change or whatever, a year and a semester. Again, I was really good in baseball, and actually the way that I even got Loyola to I didn't play at Loyola, but I did get recruited to both Loyola and Pepperdine.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but I didn't end up playing. And so I go to Loyola, it was whatever, and then I just was missing home, man. LA was cool, but I just missed being home.
Yeah.
I remember I was driving up and down the 5 every weekend, my little Mazda RX-7 every weekend. So I come back to the city and I enroll at here. I'll give you me as a student.
All right.
So I enroll in SF State. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna play baseball for a minute, and so I tried out for the baseball team, but baseball is not a sport you can take 2 years off. It's just you can't even take a year off of baseball. That's your time, and it's just too difficult. Like did you play baseball? Challenging.
My son does now, though.
Okay, really hard, man. So
I play for fun, never for a team.
For a team. So I realized right away, well, I can't do this. It's been too long. So, and I'm already dabbling in the criminal world at this point. So I'm enrolled at SF State, and you've been to SF State, right?
Yep.
So you know how the student union is in the center, right?
Yep.
And then you have Holloway and 19th, right? The motherfucking book line goes from the student thing all the way out to Holloway, Jay. And I came up, I was like, this the book line? They were like, yeah. I said, man, fuck this, man. So I just said, fuck it, I'm just gonna sell dope to the dorms, man.
That's hilarious.
So that was my San Francisco State thing. I was in them dorms juking though, boy. I was
killing them.
I was killing them.
What introduced you to that lifestyle?
I mean, again, what I found out now, thanks to my sister, is it was in my bloodline, which I didn't know.
That's a very good point.
I mean, it really, really was. My father was he was a criminal defense attorney, so I had criminals and murderers and drug dealers around me my whole life. And, he would watch all the movies with me and shit that, Godfather, all the shit growing up. And I remember hearing, like, talking to my mom, one of the frustrations she had was this motherfucker would take like watches and cars and shit as payment. She's like, motherfucker, we got kids, man. Like, wow. And he was just all about him, man. He wanted to floss, man. So he's taking payments that aren't money.
Wow.
Yeah. So, that world.
That just gives me an idea of his type of clientele, man.
Man, he was a monster, man. Like, in a good way. He was an incredibly talented dude. So I had that element around me growing up. And then, so in 85, 86 is when crack hit. And I'm still in the city before I moved to LA. So I'm seeing it around me because I'm in the hood. The whole hood just motherfucking just transformed. Like, it felt like overnight, man.
Wow.
Talk to anybody my age, they'll tell you that.
How is it looking at San Francisco now? Downtown area?
Oh, man, I don't even go down there, man. I don't even go down there, man.
Let me ask you this, and before you get back into it. Does it look visually? Does it look worse now than it did when crack hit?
Now, it didn't never look like that. What it was back then,
they're looking like zombies out there.
Are you talking about now? Yeah, no, it didn't look like that.
Okay.
What it was, and it was, in some ways it was glorious, man. Like, just because what you saw was the hustlers more than you saw the dope fiends coming and going, but you saw all your partners that you grew up playing with, all of a sudden they fly as they fly as hell out there.
So you're looking at it from the other aspect.
I'm on the other side of it, right? I'm like, damn, he getting it, man. You know what I mean? And back then, the film we had, where Ellie Hill Hutch is, right? Uh-huh. So Ellie Hill, right half a block down was a store called Virgo's. Man, if I had video or film of that shit, man, like, it was crazy, man. It was just, motherfucking just thugs, like glorious fly motherfuckers out there, just gangsters and thugs and hustlers out there. Just
that's crazy.
And I say thugs in a positive way. Like that was a positive thing.
Those are like
back.
the neighborhood superheroes.
Man. And you had Virgos, and then you had King's Liquors, you had Po' Boy Car Wash, and then you had, a friend of mine was like, you didn't have no projects in the city. Shit, we didn't. We had the Pink Palace. We had motherfucking OCP. We had West Side. We had on the other side of Harbor. We had fucking Valencia Gardens. Like we had projects. We had Chinese projects that you get your ass whooped at. And that's what people would come to the city. And back then in the 80s, homosexuality was really, they were treated horrible back in the day, right? There wasn't the openness that we have now, thankfully. But back then, as soon as you said, oh, I'm from San Francisco, are you gay?
Yeah.
And I'd be like, you know what, man? Yeah. Bring that shit to my city. I'll drop you off in a Chinese neighborhood and them Joe Boys and Wachings will fuck you up. As a matter of fact, I'll drop you out in the Sunset and you'll get rolled up by them SDI. We didn't have gangs, we had turfs. But it was fisticuffs, and it was, so 85, 86 comes, and then it went from this to this.
Yeah.
That was the major changes, is that people started getting killed. And it just, and you would see the zombies out there late at night, but you wouldn't see it like it is now. They not fucking doing this shit, falling asleep. Because I guess heroin was big in the 70s, but crack was just a different dynamic. But I saw it from the sort of the more hustler side.
And how was your family's financial situation at this moment?
I mean, look, Pops did his thing. We had money many, many times, right? But again, my mom, whose father died when she was young. Okay. So financial security was important to her. And she's like, dude, I don't want to be fucked up. Like her mom was left to raise 2 kids. And back again, talking about women, back then, a single mom was a challenge, bro. If you didn't have a man providing for you back then, there wasn't a lot of opportunities for women.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So she was not wanting to be fucking in financial, struggle, because this dude, not only did he take gifts, but he was fucked up money. Them motherfucker made money, but he spent it like a drunken sailor. So, but we had money for many, many years of my life. It wasn't like we struggled. Me and Mom's broke off, and we moved to Fillmore. We still were doing fine. It wasn't like I never was, struggling for clothes or food or nothing like that. But when I broke off to do my own thing, now I'm struggling for money. Now I'm trying to find some money.
So you're after 18 when you get into the streets, as far as hustling.
Yes, yeah. I mean, it started to happen a little bit before,
but that's kind of like petty shit.
Petty shit.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
But when you're like full fledged, okay, that's what I'm about to do.
I still, like I said, I was a good kid. I still was like thinking I was going to be an athlete. So if you fuck up too bad,
so you're being careful.
Yeah.
So is there, and you don't have to say any names, but there's just someone specifically who kind of walked you into that lifestyle?
So I never really was into the dope game.
Okay.
Because what I did recognize was, I was like, damn, I saw a lot of people and families who were just, their whole shit was obliterated by this drug. And I tried it for a minute, but I remember I served this, and it wasn't like one person. I had partners that was doing it and doing good, and they was like, all right, you want to, I was like, yeah, let me fuck with it. And I remember I served this lady, and she had a child, and I come in, and I'm sure many people that did it have an experience like this. I come in, I'm serving her, and her son come out. I can't remember how old he was. He's probably like 7 years old or something. And I come in, she treat me great, like, oh yeah, all excited to see me. And the little kid comes out, she get your motherfucking back, man, just going off on the kid, and I just was like, you treat me like, and your own child, I didn't fully understand but I was like, nah, man, take care of your baby. And I left, and I took my bag, and I gave it to my boy, got some money, and I was like, man, this is I can't live off other people's misery.
I wonder if
it wasn't me. I didn't have it in me.
I wonder how much of your upbringing played a part in that decision.
It had to, I'm sure.
Yeah,
because obviously the shit was getting to the community a certain way.
Right. That's interesting.
So I felt like I didn't want to be a part of that, you know what I mean? And I just couldn't do it, man. I couldn't live off somebody's misery, man. It just wasn't my thing.
When I keep saying the situation, obviously, with you getting shot, lead me into that. At what point does that happen?
So then I'm in LA, and I met a couple people, and they started talking about hitting these bank licks and shit. So, and then I connected with the guy who ended up shooting me. And,
so you knew this guy?
Oh yeah, no, we was partners in crime.
Oh wow.
We was partners in crime, man. So I hit a lick with him and this other cat on the little bank lick, and then he and I just hit it off, man. We just hit it off, man. We just had a bromance, man. We just connected. And so we started hitting licks together, man. So he kind of put me up on that game a little bit, and so we started doing that back in LA and in San Francisco.
Really? Mm-hmm. How does it go sour?
So, I mean, there's no honor among thieves, right? That's what they say. It's interesting, man, and I really look forward. He's just gotten out, and we've been communicating, which a lot of people blows a lot of people's minds.
I can't wait to get to that part of
it. Yeah, so we're talking about how we're going to handle that, but because we was getting it. It started going south. I had found out that a couple early licks we hit that he had skimmed.
Tucked on you.
He had tucked on me. Yeah. So then I set some things up. So then I'm doing the same thing because that's just what you do. I'm like, okay. And I'm already established. I'm competitive as fuck.
Right.
But I'm like, all right, well, this is just how you do it.
Right.
But that wasn't really the issue. The issue, I think, I don't know this for sure, and I'm gonna let him tell his own story. But I think maybe some substances has gotten involved on his end. I don't know that for a fact, so that's not. But just from what I heard, but just egos, man, just egos. And I remember, so he had a chain, right? And I never was a jewelry guy, but he had a chain that was for those days. She was doing it. Mm-hmm. Like, it was flossy. And when I would go to LA, I would stay with him and his girl. Unbeknownst to me, I found this out later. The girl was in his ear talking about, whenever they get in an argument, I think she'd be like, well, I should fuck Patrick. I didn't even know this, and I would never do that. So that's hurting the ego. And then this chain situation, he had a chain, because when you Google me, I'm sure that came up. So I go down to LA, and I had to break out. I had to get back to the Bay. So I left, and he goes, all right, well, my shit is at your house. He goes, all right, well, here's the key. So I go back and get my stuff and go back home. Then 2 days later, he's like, all right, we're going to hit this new lick up in the Bay. I'm going to come up there. Unbeknownst to me, his chain had come up missing, right? So he comes up, and we might as well go into the story at this point.
Yeah.
Right? So he comes up, and we hit a lick, and we divvy up or whatever, and then he leaves, and he comes back, and he's like, he's got his cousin, and he's got two other dudes, and they come in, and this is in my apartment, and he's like, you stole my chain, man. I'm like, fuck is you talking about, man? I stole your chain. So he's like, you stole my chain, man. I'm like, man, I ain't stole your chain, and fuck you for even saying some shit like that. So we get into it. We're going back and forth, and at some point he looks at his cousin. He says, you got that? And his cousin pulls out a .38 revolver. And he said, let's go for a ride. I said, motherfucker, you've been watching too many movies, man. If you're going to shoot me in my motherfucking apartment, man. So we arguing back and forth. I said, man, I ain't stole your chain, man. I'm like, call your girl. She's probably at the house. I forget how the conversation's going.
Are you up right now financially? Like, you got your own money?
Yeah, I got my own place.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, we're not like fucking millionaires, but we hustle and we live.
I'm just trying to see, what would you get out of stealing this chain?
I mean, it was a valuable chain, but number one, I would never, I've already established that I would hustle, but I had a code in my life.
Morals.
I had morals, right? If I'm gonna steal from Bank of America, or I'm not gonna steal from this person or that person. I never had that in me, especially not a fucking friend.
Right.
Someone I consider a friend. So he calls his girl, asks him about the chain. She's like, nope, it's not here. Let's go for a ride, whatever. So now I'm upset. And that's why I said, I don't know, you watched we just had the parole hearing, and I said this to the parole board, like, I didn't make it easy on them. And when we talk about young people and conflict resolution and all that stuff, I didn't sit there, oh, please. I was like, motherfucker, you's a punk, man. Mm. You a punk. One, for even accusing me. Two, you got your cousin and a gun. Motherfucker, we could just go outside and do what we got to do, man. So he's like, we're going back and forth, and now I'm calling him out his name. I'm like, shoot me, motherfucker, shoot me. And he shot me.
Where'd he hit you?
Right here. Came in here and went out here.
Wow.
Yeah. from 4 feet away, man.
In your apartment. And left you for dead.
Yeah, so he, it's funny because we had watched The Godfather. He had never seen it. And we watched The Godfather. And in The Godfather, remember Michael Corleone in the restaurant, he shoots the police captain and what was the dude's name?
I'm terrible with shows names. I watch
so many. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. The drug dealer, the Turk who wanted to sell drugs, and the Don was like, no. So he pops them in the restaurant, and he drops the gun, and he goes, well, this guy, he dropped the gun.
No fucking way.
So, I remember it. I never lost consciousness. I've never told this publicly. You're getting the first.
Well, thank you for that.
You're getting the first. So he shoots me from 4 feet away. I go down. And I thought I was gonna die. You know what I mean? You get shot in the fucking face. I remember everything, Justin. I remember falling back. I remember landing. I remember landing on this side, and it was like somebody was pouring warm syrup over my head, bro. And it was just the blood coming out. And I remember saying, all right, well, fuck, I'm gonna die. And first thing I thought is I'm gonna play dead.
So he doesn't finish the job.
And then, but then I was like, so I'm pretending I'm playing dead, and then I'm like, well, one of these. But then I heard myself breathing hella loud, like, and I think it was my body's way of telling me you still alive, yo. But I was like, well, one of these breaths is gonna be my last breath. Wow. I remember having that thought
in that moment.
What the? One of these breaths is gonna be my last breath. But then I kept breathing. So then our survival instincts kept me. I was like, fuck that, I'm getting up. So I got up, went and locked the door, found out later that they came back.
No fucking
And the door was locked.
Wait. Before we move on, you fucking me up right now. So in that moment, if you remember, what is his reaction after he shoots you? Is it an oh fuck moment, or you don't know?
So this is interesting. So, and I said this at the parole hearing too. I think initially he was trying to scare me. I really do. You gotta understand, I'm 22, he's 23. We're fucking kids, dude. We're fucking kids. We're both two alpha males. You know what I mean? There's obviously a girlfriend who's been talking shit. There's his cousin who, fancied himself a blood, but he was more of a mark than a blood. But, so there's egos involved and there's embarrassment involved. And I think when the gun came out, his hand wasn't steady. And I saw that, and that's when I went into my I'm cussing him out, calling him a bitch, everything else, right? So, like, again, I think I'm not excusing him. It was some punk ass shit.
Right.
The dude's bigger than me.
Right.
But he had seen me in the hood. He had seen me touch somebody up before. I'm not saying I'm Mr. Tough Guy. I'm not saying that.
All of that plays a part, though.
It plays a part. He had seen me touch somebody up, so he knew. He come from the LA side, and they more shooters than we are up here. It was more fisticuffs up here, even in the transition of the dope game. So yeah, I kind of, I feel like I didn't make it easy on him, man. But yeah, I went down, and then I locked the door, and I picked up the phone. I said, I'm shot. Come get me.
Wow.
Yeah.
So,
and it was an apartment building, so the neighbors called the police.
Right.
So the police has been alerted by multiple people to.
Right.
Yeah, and they got him. They brought him back.
So wait? What did they come back for?
I don't know. It's just I saw that.
See if you were.
To his credit, when we started communicating, he sent me all the transcripts of all the different parole hearings. So I was reading shit that I was like, wow, it was deep.
So they got caught immediately after.
Immediately, yeah.
Wow.
And so they bring me, they bring me. It was me and my partner Nate. We lived together in his dad's place. It was his dad's apartment, which I always felt so horrible about. Sorry, Papa Lou. I've apologized for it, but now I'll do it publicly. And I remember Nate's telling of the stories. Nate was a square. He wasn't involved in nothing, although he dabbled in a couple things. But he was definitely a square, and he was actually that friend who was like, "Dude, you tripping, man."
Yeah.
And that's the thing I wonder if young people have these days. Maybe like I had kids saying, "Man, what the fuck is you doing, yo?"
We don't have that no more. If we do, they're few and far between.
Wow. But I had those dudes saying that you wasting your talent, shit like that. That's a real friend.
That's a great friend.
So Nate was coming home. He worked at a place in Marine. I remember his telling of the stories, like it was the most beautiful day. I'm coming home. And he walks up the stairs and all of a sudden, it was in Berkeley. Berkeley PD just swarms on him, fucking guns out. Freeze, motherfucker. He's like, yo, this is my spot. They're like, who the fuck are you? He's like, I live here.
And you're already.
I'm inside. Wow. I'm bleeding out my motherfucking head. I remember going to the mirror and it was a piece of my hair, just a big old knot of bloody hair hanging down, yo, and my whole side of my face was like this, just enormous, bro.
Wow.
So my roommate Nate came home and the police opened the door. I opened the door and they just grabbed me and bring me down, not in a just like fuck. So they cut my clothes off and ambulance is coming and all that. So they carry me off, and this is why I always really identified with Pac, man. So I'm on the gurney, fucking thing on the oxygen mask, and they bring him and the other dudes he's with right up to the gurney, and I ripped the motherfucking thing off. I said, I'm still here, motherfucker.
What?
They said, we'll take that as a positive ID.
Wow.
That was it. And then of course his big mistake was that he brought a doctor's kit, a square with him, and this motherfucker spilled
everything.
Beans. Honestly, I need you to hear this, Justin. Like, I wouldn't do this. This is...
We're recording, by the way.
Okay, I'm good. I'm good. Put this in there. I wouldn't do this.
Are those going? All right.
Like, we're talking about some big interviews, right? And I've told this story to people who are in like restorative justice lanes and stuff like that, and they're like, this is like some 60-minute shit. But I would never start with that. I would never. It wouldn't work for me to do this to this detail with anybody. Again, we just met, but we have connections. We know people. We have, this is home. This is just your spirit and the work that you're doing.
I appreciate that, man.
You're dealing with kids who were in my mindset back then, right? Like this shirt I'm wearing, right? Criminal Minded. This is a classic KRS-One album. You know what I mean? And so like, we'll get into all that, but like, I just want to just tell you that I thank you.
No, thank you.
It's very cathartic.
I genuinely appreciate that, and I appreciate you because there's an importance for people who aren't the biggest celebrities in the world to still tell their stories because, again, everybody from the inner city has somebody that they grew up next to that's done Lord knows what, shit that people will have nightmares about. Yeah. You know what I mean? For somebody that can be here today willingly, God willingly, and is willing to tell that story, because a lot of people you don't have to do all of the work that you've done, and I know there's so much more that you've done that I don't even know about, but just the stuff that I know about is like amazing. You know what I mean?
Appreciate that, man. It's been a journey. I mean, Ebony, shout out to Ebony, like, and people before her. Like I said, people have been pushing me to do this for a lot of years, and I just wasn't ready. And I'm very aware and conscientious of how to tell the story. How do you tell the story? Because the guy who shot me name is Damon Cook.
Okay. And
he would be fine with me telling him that. We're communicating. If you Google me, it's there. So it's not like it's. And he's done amazing work while he was down. That's the other thing. Like I always say, I don't fuck with average people. Even the motherfuckers that shoot me are exceptional. I just don't fuck with average people, which is why I'm here.
Right, I appreciate that, man. I
don't fuck with average people. Like he's been interviewed by Sway.
Wow.
He was doing that program that MC Hammer's involved with, The Last Mile, while he was in Quentin.
Wow.
Bob Myers of the Warriors has fucking talked to him. Like he did a lot of work. He's an incredibly bright guy. He's a
super dope,
amazingly articulate man. Like, so while I was doing all my work on the outside, he was doing his, and it was actually the Sway interview that made me reach out to him.
Let's get into that.
All right. So
I kind of know the answer to this, but what happens after you recover? How long is that time? How long does it take you to bounce back?
Recover is an interesting thing. So so I get shot. They come take me to Highland, of course. Got a crazy story about Highland.
Wow, because you're in Berkeley.
Right, because I'm in Berkeley.
Wow.
So they take me to Highland. And I'm laid up in the hospital. I was in the motherfucking hallway of the emergency room for 6 hours.
At this moment, do you feel like I'm surviving this, or are you?
No, I know I'm surviving.
Okay,
I know I'm surviving.
Oh, so
I know. Okay. And I'm in the I ain't got no insurance. I'm in the fucking hallway, and I didn't know at the time. So the damage was, it went in here, came out here, it blew out my eardrum, it broke my jaw. But fuck, could have been a lot worse, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it was a 38, yo. from 4 feet away. Like,
that's incredible.
I mean, that's wild, man. I mean, just if it goes in here, I'm probably not here, man. Yeah. So I'm in the hall. I'm in the hallway of fucking of Highland Hospital, and I remember it was one of those days. We've all had them. I hadn't eaten anything the whole fucking day, yo. Man. Right? It always works like that, right? You always get caught up in something when you fucking have. So I'm fucking starving. I'm like, man, y'all got something to eat? Because they giving me like Advil or whatever the fuck they giving me, right? And you don't want to take that shit on an empty stomach. So they gave me some fucking crackers and a milk or some shit like that. So I'm waiting for a room. They got the IVs in me, and I gotta tell you, man, the IVs was more painful than getting shot. I'm in the hospital room. They got the IVs. I remember it was this older black nurse, and I said, nurse, I said, I got some money. Can you take these? She said, baby, I done heard it all. I'm not taking the IVs.
That's hella funny.
So I stay overnight, but I'm like, yo, I gotta get the fuck out of here, man. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on, right? I don't know, is someone coming up here to pop me again? You know what I mean? I'm thinking like that. So I'm like, so the doctor comes in, the police come, they checking them. I'm like, I'm just like, damn, I'm in some shit here. So the doctor comes in. I said, hey, am I obligated to stay here? And they're like, no, but you got shot in the face. We need to. I was like, so I'm not obligated to stay here. No, I said, so I don't have to stay here. Nope. Got on the phone. My girlfriend at the time, Paula Harrell. Love you, Paula. And she's to this day, she's got an incredible wine business. She was a college student. I don't know what the fuck she was fucking with me for, but I called Paula. I was like, come get me. And the beautiful woman that she is, she came and got me. And the next day I was gone, man. I left Highland Hospital the next day. Her family took care of me and everything, but she changed my fucking wound, my bandages on my wounds and shit. So I laid up, in the house for a minute, but not that long, man. I was so when you talk about recovery, there's a physical recovery, and to your whole point, the mental is another thing. A lot of people say like, oh, well, you got shot, that changed you from. Nah, man. Nah, that made me worse. A lot worse. Like getting shot clearly almost killed me, but my reaction to getting shot almost killed me even more.
Okay, now you're talking. That's a fucking bar. So expound on that.
Man, I was just so goddamn angry, man. I was just like, man.
At yourself, at everybody?
At everything. I mean, obviously you're embarrassed, you're fucking angry, you're hurt.
So you aren't wearing this as a badge of honor at this moment?
No, that probably comes later. That probably is your fucking questions are incredible, man. You do this for a living? You do this interview thing for a living?
That, man.
Yo,
I appreciate that.
So at the beginning, I'm just trying to sort it out. My family, my mom is crying. My sister is, my sister's mad as fuck. She's mad.
Ask how Kelly.
Kelly was mad as fuck. She dumbass. Man.
She's mad at you?
Fuck yeah, she's mad at me.
Really?
Of course. Dumbass.
Mom's mad at you too?
No, mom's is mom.
Mom's is mom.
Mom's is mom.
Where's Pops' head?
Pops, he's doing Pops things. This is all about him at this point. And he's going, now this is a man whose career was in the criminal justice field. Now his son is a quote unquote victim. Although I never accepted that label. I ain't a victim of shit. Right. I mean, everything I did happened for a reason. I put myself in positions, and I just, the victim, that's what I am technically, but I just could never wear that label. You. So it's not a badge of honor, but I'm mad. I'm angry. I'm like, okay, this shit is different. There ain't no more fisticuffs, man. I felt like I got shot by somebody who, if I couldn't whoop his ass, it would have been a draw. And I mean, I had a pistol in the house, but I couldn't get to it. I was caught. You know what I mean? I was caught slipping. I couldn't defend myself with that because I was outnumbered and I didn't have.
And he caught you in the most. One of my biggest fears, and I hear Joe Budden talk about this a lot, is like getting caught in the shower.
Dude, that's crazy you say that. I've had that too.
Really?
Because it's so vulnerable. Because you're fucking butt naked as a jaybird.
Yeah, it's like I can't get to anything. If I try to run, I'm gonna fall.
No.
So fuck, I cannot imagine that. So are you thinking vengeance at this point?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Oh, I am. And I got my boys like, so it's funny because something happened, and when me and him talking, I asked him what happened, but they let him out for some reason. He got out. And so he's from Compton. So he goes back to Compton. The police came to me and they was like, hey, we got to go find him. I was like, well, you on your own. I ain't got nothing. That's on you. Then I said, wait a minute. If I go with him,
you can know
I know where the fuck he at. Let's go. So I'm rolling around Compton, just taking notes, man. Just taking notes. So, I'm like totally plotting whatever I'm going to do. But more than that, it's not even that specific. It's that I'm like, okay, the rules are you can't never not have a gun on you.
Wow.
So now, Justin, I have a motherfucking gun on me in my motherfucking pants for probably 10 years.
Wow. Do you ever catch a charge?
Nope. Had a shootout in broad daylight, man, in a gas station on Silver Avenue.
So you're so now you're in this shit.
Now I'm in it. Now I'm like, okay, well, it's gunplay then. So reactions. Now I'm like the badge of honor, not so much, but now I'm like untouchable because I'm 22 and I'm dumb as a fucking box of rocks. And I'm like, oh, I can't be killed. You can shoot me in the face and I'm still here. You know what I mean? So now I'm just a motherfucking lunatic, bro. Like now I'm angry, I'm cocky, which I was already cocky. Now I'm just like way over cocky, overconfident, and I'm like, so I'm just a.
At any
mess.
point, and again, share as much as you want. At any point, do you get into substance and stuff like that?
Nah, that was never. I mean, I smoked weed, but
Right.
I've never tried cocaine in my life.
Same here.
Not once. It never dawned on me to try that shit. Weed and Excedrin.
I only asked that because sometimes, and that could have made it so much worse.
Oh, for sure.
I wonder if Pops's habits played a part in that.
That's a good. Yeah, I wonder. I don't. Well, his alcohol did.
Right, that's what I mean.
But yeah, I mean, he did the other shit too. But the alcohol was definitely that was his downfall. And and when you have an alcoholic parent, you go one of two ways. You either go that way or you're like, I'll never fuck with that again. I don't drink.
Really?
I do not drink at all.
Wow.
Like I can't remember. I mean, I have.
Right.
At that time in my life, I was drinking 40s and shit that we do, but that was never my thing, man. Drugs and alcohol was never my thing, man. It was just weed.
So what happens next? So now you're in the streets. Or I don't want to say in the streets, but you're willing to take it there now.
Oh, I'm in the streets. I'm totally in the streets. So then there's a trial. So the doctor's kid spills the beans. The police come to me and they go, yeah, we know everything. And this is the part of the story. Like, so as we develop our story, right? Because I want us to both come out of this thing whole. Obviously, people that know the story are going to look at him a certain way, but there's people from our community going to look at me a certain way when I tell you this part of it. So the doctor's kid spills the beans, tells everything. In fact, everybody on his side that he was with tells basically everything about the bank licks and everything. So they come to me and they're like, yeah, you're in trouble. I'm like, fuck you mean I'm in trouble? And they basically are like, we know everything. And, we may pursue a case against you for your criminal activities.
I didn't even put that together when you're saying they know everything. That I forgot about the bank.
So I reach out to Pops and he connects with my godfather. And so my godfather was Patrick Hallinan, and if you know this world of criminal defense attorneys, Patrick Hallinan is a giant.
Really?
A fucking giant. That was my godfather, Butch. The Hallinan family is a royal family of San Francisco.
Wow. They're
like the Kennedys. No bullshit.
Wow.
Terrence Hallinan was the DA. Their father, Vincent Hallinan, ran for president as a communist back in the day.
Wow.
But Butch is my godfather and one of the most incredible human beings that ever walked the fucking earth. Just the most Renaissance man you ever imagined. This motherfucker was an incredible attorney for Medgar Evers, I believe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And he graduated UC Berkeley. He was a Golden Gloves champion.
Oh, shit.
Boxer. He was a fucking archaeologist that discovered a woolly mammoth in fucking somewhere that totally changed the path that the fucking native... Like, this motherfucker is just incredible.
Yeah, another person that did whatever he felt like.
Dude, like
that's dope.
When he passed away recently, God rest his soul, but I'll send you his obituary. Like, you read it and you're like, man, I ain't did shit in my life. I literally haven't done shit. This motherfucker accomplished so much, man.
That's
so
dope,
my dad says you got to go see your godfather. So I go see Butch, and he talks to the prosecutors. He goes, "You in trouble?" I was like, "What the fuck do you mean I'm in trouble? For getting shot?" And he's like, "Yeah." And apparently there was a case. Everything's precedent. There was a case of there was a huge weed grow in Humboldt, probably in the 70s, I imagine. And this is when weed was illegal, obviously. Huge weed grow. People come to try to rob the place or whatever, and there's a big shootout. And so one of the dudes who gets shot ends up doing fucking hella years for growing weed.
Wow.
So you can be a victim of a crime, but if you're in the process of committing a crime, you're on the hook for the crime.
Wow.
So they've basically snitched everybody out, and my options are to either testify and be granted immunity or be prosecuted for the shit we were doing. So I go back to my partners, and I'm like, damn, man, I don't want to do that shit. And they're like, man, you better get up on that stand and say what the fuck happened.
Right.
So I did that. It was hard, and like I say, in our world, some people will think of that as a snitch.
Right.
I've talked to people I respect a great deal, Lil D, Jim, Offset Jim, or 22nd Jim now. That's my guy.
Yeah.
That's my heart, man.
I think he's a little younger than me.
Me and him just identify so much. And, I've talked to them about it because when I got close to them, I said, look, I want you to know this about my history because you might feel a way about this, especially for somebody who did time, for somebody who snitched on them. And when those guys who I respect were like, that ain't snitching. And I agree with them. Like even when we talk about community, the term snitching is fucked up. People don't even know what it fucking means. If you see an innocent civilian gunned down right outside here, it's our obligation to say, so-and-so did it.
Right.
That's how you have a fucking, that's not snitching. Right. Snitching is when me and you go hit a lick, I get caught,
and you tell them
Justin did it too.
Yeah.
That's snitching.
I agree.
In my
really
opinion.
what they did to you, technically.
What they did to me, right.
Yeah. So,
but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, 100%,
Some people are gonna look at me and they say you shouldn't have testified.
You know what's crazy, man? So my father is and my father is really known in Oakland as well. He's a big time guy from back in the day, and me growing up, I always stayed out of the streets because of I didn't want to follow my father's footsteps. So I kind of learned through my father.
Sure.
So. But I always had a soft spot for people telling on others for multiple reasons. One being because somebody told on my dad and took him away from me for a long time.
Damn.
For two, I was always somebody, my thing was, bro, I grew up in the same area as you guys did.
Right.
I lived my life a certain way for all of these fucking years. I stayed out of that bullshit. I'm fucking the same broads. we around the same group of people.
Parties.
Why could just live a normal fucking life if you don't want to go do that time? Yeah. And that was my only thing. So I don't really, and that was even younger me. That's how I felt. But now I'm so far removed from that shit. That shit doesn't make me know. Like you guys are making such a fucking gray area, and there is a gray area. You guys are acting like there isn't.
Right.
That's what I mean. You know what I mean?
Well, to me, it's a bunch of squares who really don't understand the game.
Exactly. They never
defining what they don't really know what the fuck it is. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and listen, I accept that some people aren't going to be able to accept it. I don't give a fuck. They didn't live it.
Right.
They don't know what the situation was. I got the documents.
Right.
I'm seeing that it was even worse than I thought it was in terms of what was being talked about. You know what I mean? So, and again, the people that I respect and care about, they understand it and they agree with it. So that's,
And at this point,
I wasn't finna go to jail because I got shot off when we could have just fought if you thought I did this.
Right. That makes sense.
Come on now. The fuck I'm going to go to jail for that. But I will say it is talking about what should happen to your dad, what happened to people that I love, many people. Right. If I would have got busted, I wouldn't have done that.
Right.
If I would have just got, caught up, and that shit is horrible. Yeah. If we doing a crime together and I get caught and your name come up, that's the worst motherfucker alive to me. Right. But this was not that.
So did all three of them get arrested or just?
No.
Or just did the shooter go down?
Just the shooter, yeah. Everybody else talked. So yeah, well, no, the one dude didn't. The Vietnamese dude he had with him, he was a soldier. He didn't say shit, but they didn't have nothing on. He didn't do nothing wrong. He sat there and he's like, I don't know. Right. I respect him. He held his own. The doctor's kid told on him. I think the cousin. I don't know what happened to the cousin. He ended up getting killed years later, but. That's what Damon told me, but I don't know if he did time or not. I don't think so, but he wasn't a part of what we had. But how crazy the story is, there was another famous attorney that was actually involved. and you probably wouldn't know the name, Melvin Belli. Again, if you grew up in San Francisco, Melvin Belli was he was probably the most famous lawyer in San Francisco.
Really?
But he was an ambulance chaser, which is a personal injury attorney. And Damon, somebody gave him bad advice, and he went and get this dude to be his lawyer, because he had this big name. And he cross-examined me. And I remember, it's easy when you're telling the truth.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's easy, right? And he cross-examined me. And I'm like, he trying to do his little lawyer shit. And I'm looking at him like, bro, you ain't a fucking fraction of the lawyer my daddy was, man. Like, I was cross-examining my whole motherfucking life. Every time I fucking broke a cookie jar, motherfucker.
That's a bar. That's a fact, though.
I fucked his whole world up. It was so bad that when he was doing his thing, at one point he asked a question and I said something back and the judge goes, sustained. You don't sustain a witness. That's like, if you look at the transcript, say that.
That's hilarious.
He said something and I said something, he said sustained.
Wow.
I was like, I just whooped his whole ass in here, bro. Like, I should have been a lawyer.
Though.
I should have been a lawyer. I would have been a monster. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Can you say how much time he ended up getting in all of that?
Oh, so I think he got 12 to life.
Wow.
But his whole situation, and I honestly, we might have to hook him up to come up in here.
Man, I would love that.
Because again, what we're trying to do now is, we will get to that. But we trying to do something with this story that's positive for the reforms that we're all fighting for, and this whole criminal justice system and restorative justice and all of these things. But they gave him 12 to life, and then I think he was up for parole 13 times, and they just kept turning him down. I mean, once you're in there, you're just trying to survive. So I'm sure there was little punk ass shit right? Just punk ass shit, cell phone.
Right,
who knows what he did or whatever. But he did a lot of good ass work in there. That's one of the reasons I also was like, I was never invested in him doing time. I was invested in me not doing time for getting shot. Number one. Number two, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't give a fuck. Back then, I didn't give a fuck. Motherfucker, go sit down. Motherfucker, you did that shit. I don't care.
Right.
You know what I mean? But then, he was down for damn near 30 years.
Wow. What happened to make you being open to want to even have that conversation?
So, a couple lawyers during the process reached out to me, and I wasn't fully there yet where I was willing to do anything, but I wasn't against it.
They're reaching out on his behalf?
Yes.
Okay.
And I wasn't against it because you do have to. A lot of people don't understand, but we were friends. We were friends, like tight at one point. We really fucked with each other at one point. And you asked the grade. You said, "Did you wear it as a badge of honor?" No, didn't wear it as a badge of honor. But just like the struggle, whatever struggles you had. When you was on the court and you was thinking about your dad being gone from you, there was probably times when you were like, that fueled you and you're like, none of these motherfuckers been through what I've been through.
100%.
Right?
100%.
So our struggles become our fuel in a lot of ways. So, first way it manifests was me being a fucking crazy motherfucker. But then when I got into the construction trades, it was okay. The gift of it was, and this is not in a tough guy thing, but nothing on this physical plane scares me. Not as a tough guy. But I done stared death in the face. I done been laying on the floor waiting for my last breath. Like, this physical shit don't bother me.
And you know what? To take that a step further, when you say nothing, you've literally faced death, nothing scares you. Even because improvement is scary sometimes, especially coming from the inner city.
This is right.
There's people in our communities who they won't go buy a house because they don't want to lose their Section 8.
Yeah, I know a hell of people.
You see what I'm saying? And technically that's improvement.
I know people have been in the projects all these years because it's so cheap, and they got money.
So even I wonder if that even plays a part in you making that distinctive decision to say, you know what, I want to go this way. Because it all plays a part. It has to play some type of part because you're literally like, bro, what's the worst that could happen now? Like, let me go figure this shit out. Because what were you doing before you got to construction?
So I was hustling, right? And then, but you take losses, and what really got me to start thinking about a change in life. So getting shot didn't change me. What changed was my brother. When my brother went down, my brother got popped. I was actually supposed to be with him that day, and thankfully I wasn't. But he caught a case and he went down, and so we would communicate on what it was like, and he would tell me what it was like up there, and I was like, yeah, I don't think I want to be there, man. I need to start changing my life. So I got a job at the Albany Teen Center, the UC Village. You know what that is? That's where the families live who go to UC Berkeley.
Okay.
And there was a little teen center right there by the little baseball field.
Okay.
So I was working there. That was for troubled kids. So I'm in there saying, don't do this and don't do that. And then at night, I'm going doing everything they said not to do, that I said not to do. So I was feeling a little hypocritical, but then I had an opportunity to coach a baseball team.
Okay.
And this is why I really feel a connection to you and a kindred spirit to you, because coaching is what I would say changed my life, because I was coaching at my center fielder. That's what I was telling on the radio. His dad was in the trade, and he got me. I told him, I was like, I like working with kids, but it's not paying the bills. He said, we'll call this dude. And that was the apprentice coordinator, and that's how I got in the trade. And what it really was I saw the rate sheet. And I was like, and when you're in the game for a while, whatever your hustle is, you make money and you lose money. Yeah. You make money and you spend money. It ain't no make money and keep money.
Exactly.
That's very rare. There's dudes who do it. But it's rare.
Right.
So to me, this was, okay, shit, I could actually make some money. I don't need school. And then I got in it and I was like, okay, it's physical. I'm an athlete. I'm determined. I'm finna tear this shit up, man. And that's what I did.
And you literally worked your way up all the way.
All the way.
Or when you get into it, are you immediately like change of heart? Or is it just like as you're working, it's like an epiphany hits?
No, so at the time, I met a beautiful woman, Jessica Drummer. Shout out, Jess. And Jessica had 2 beautiful babies, man, whose dad, the father of the 2 children, was a cat that I grew up with in the neighborhood named Sonny Boy. And so we wasn't partners, but we knew each other. And the dude he kind of worked for was a very good friend of mine from Filmo. And he was a boss. And Sonny was kind of his, security, among other things. And so Jessica and I fell in love. She had these 2 kids, and it was almost a war started over that relationship.
Really?
Oh, yeah. But Sonny was locked up for most of the kids' life. Jessica and I ended up getting married.
Wow.
So this was when I first started dating her and getting serious with her. And I'm like, damn, man, if I'm going to really fuck with her, that means I'm fucking with these kids. And I fell in love with the kids. And so I had this opportunity to get in a trade. And so not only was it I wanted to turn my life around, but it was like I want to take care of my family because me and Jessica got married. So I had a family like that, 24, and took the responsibility of 2 kids that I didn't make.
Wait, and how old were you when you got
24.
shot?
I was 22 when I got shot.
Right, so you're 2 years removed.
2 years removed, yeah.
How was it making that transition from getting fast money, kind of living life on the edge, to like being more structured and having to answer to somebody?
Yeah, so I mean, it was culture shock, especially in the refineries, especially in that time, right? Like it was a lot of rednecks out there, and
you're feeling out of place.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm in Cocoa County. I'm out in Shell Refinery.
Yep, I know exactly what you're
I'm feeling out of place, but
you can adapt.
In that trade, the insulators trade, it's a lot of motherfuckers that's had, a past or whatever. You don't choose that trade; it chooses you. And then I'm in the refineries. It's the saving grace was not just the rate and that you could make more money every year, but you got paid every week. That made I looking back on it now, that made a big difference because, and I'm like, yo, this is better money than the hustle is. I'm getting paid every week. And at the time, it was during the clean fuels era when they were changing all the refineries to burn cleaner fuel. So it was 10, 12-hour days available. So you bringing in $1,500 a week. That was good money back then, man. Yeah. So it gave me, and that's why I'm so passionate about what I do, because we can all talk about people changing their life and changing the narrative, but if you ain't got something that's going to feed them and put money on their table in a significant way,
right,
man, that shit is going to pull them back because it's just too enticing.
It's inevitable. It's inevitable, yeah. And then we have this constant need for survival, you know what I mean? Especially growing up in the inner city.
Yeah.
And just the shit that we experience and see growing up, man. It's like, I can't let my moment slip away. I can't
That's
go
what it
backwards.
is.
Kind of how your mom felt.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like anything could happen at this moment, at any moment, and now I'm stuck with these
and once you get away from it and you're like, okay, this is, now I got a beautiful wife. I got these 2 beautiful babies depending on me. I don't want to go back. I don't want to be away from them.
So much more peaceful.
So much more peaceful. Yeah. We moved out to Hilltop in Pinot. I'm like, yo, man, you know what I mean? I'm chilling,
That's
yo.
dope.
I'm not going back.
That's dope.
I'm gonna choke the life out of this opportunity, man. And like I always say, you know, people, as I'm stringing together interviews, people gonna hear it a lot, but I have to say it, man. I went from apprentice to journeyman to foreman to general foreman to superintendent to estimator, project manager, to being the vice president, COO of my company.
Round of applause. Round of applause for that, man.
But I've done every job in my industry.
That's amazing, man. You know? That's such a testament to just how important just focus is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And just being refocused. And I always talk about this a lot. Like, there's so many people in the inner city, and some of the smartest people, and that's kind of what pushed me into my nonprofit.
Speak on it.
Some of the smartest people I've ever met in my life are from my own backyard.
And some of the smartest people you know in your life have been caught up and have lost
One decision
at a tender age.
And then let me ask you this question, because did you ever deal with survivor's remorse?
Wow, yes. And when I say survivor's remorse, I don't mean of the gunshot. I mean,
I wasn't even talking about that. So we're on the same page.
Yo, have I? Do I? Am I? Yes. Like it's a many feeling, yo. Like
even your brother who went to jail, it's like you were supposed to be with him. Like, why wasn't I?
Yeah.
God, why did you keep me? Whatever that transpired today, God, why did you make that happen?
So many of my closest people, my brothers, have just struggled so bad, and this is another reason I do what I do, because it's just, and you know, and as a white man, I also look at it and I'm like, well, in this instance, it has to do with me, but also, I mean, you know, I don't get pulled over when my partners ain't in the car.
Right.
And if you can't acknowledge that as a white kid and grew up in a black community, you missed the whole fucking point. You missed the point.
Talk about it.
You know what I mean? Like, so the fact that, you know, I remember when I was coming up in that process, and I first started being a foreman. I know I'm all over the place.
No, this is great, right? Man. Are you kidding me?
I was first becoming a foreman, and I had my buddy Stan, who was a white boy from Rodeo, you know, and he fucked with me. Like, and that was the thing. When I got in the trade, I was actually popular for the first time. Remember I talked about in high school, the white people didn't fuck with me. Well, now they did for whatever reason, right? I don't know what changed, but I was really, really popular. People loved me in the trade. I worked hard, and they knew I had a past. I remember some of the older foremen called me bullet head. I mean, like, whatever. They accepted me. So, but Stan, I remember we went to the office. I was first running work as a foreman, and we went to the office and we talked to the big boss, and we left and we was driving home, and Stan said, I'm gonna tell you something that's gonna offend you. And I was like, what? He was like, man, you sound really black, yo. And I was offended. I was like, fuck you mean? He's like, you sound really black, and I'm just telling you, I grew up with these white boys. They not gonna fuck with you. They'll fuck with you, but to a certain level. And I was hella offended, and I was going off, whatever. But I thought about it, and I was like, you know, and we talk about survivors remorse. I said, all right, I got to smooth it out a little bit. I'm not going to change and not be me, but I'm going to smooth it out and disarm people. And, you know, I remember I used to wear my hair just slicked back like a motherfucking Guido from. So then I put this fucking part in the thing, right? And I started trying to, what's up, dude? You know, like I didn't code switch all the way, but I
know what you mean, though.
I lightened it up. You know what I mean? And for a white man to say I code switched, I've had this conversation with a dear friend of mine, Courtney, and she's hella dope. She's like, you know, really accomplished and really in tune with things. And I talked to her about it, and she really like, we had a discussion about it, and she's like, I get it. I was like, but I felt guilt about that. I still sometimes feel guilt about that. Because when I code switch, I have this. When you code switch, they still looking at you as a black man. You know what I'm saying?
But see, for somebody like myself, because I've become very self-aware going through therapy and just going through so many things.
Oh, you do therapy too?
Oh,
good for you.
Yes,
good for you.
Yes.
Me too.
Hell yes.
Good. Love hearing that.
I look at things like that as it's so much more than just skin color. And I know that's cliche, but even the N-word thing, right? There's so much more to it. There's more of I look at it more of an upbringing thing. So code switching to you, when you explaining code switching to me right now, I get exactly what you're saying. I don't even think, oh, this is a white man telling me that. I literally think of this as a dude that comes from the inner city like myself.
Right.
So he's experienced the same things like and code switching doesn't even have to be just how you talk. Right. It could be how you deal with disrespect.
That's
What you deem as disrespect.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because in the hood, the way you look at me could
for sure.
And in this environment, it could just be they're intrigued on who you are. You're like, who is this new guy? But in the hood, it's like they plotting on you. You see what I'm saying?
Sure.
So then that's kind of how. So I kind of take code switching to a deeper level. So it's like I get exactly what you're saying. Let me ask you this: how do you feel? Kind of knowing both sides of it, like how does that make you feel internally?
It's a trip. Like it's you never, I mean, I'm not biracial, but I'm multicultural. I'm bicultural, right? Like to your point, how you was raised. It's been a trip, man, and I've seen the best and worst of both sides. And ultimately, I only fuck with people that I connect with, regardless of what they look like.
Exactly.
But I obviously I have more black people that are closer to me than white people. I've been in situations around all white people where things are said that and then I have to say what I got to say, right? And it's crazy because, and this is why, for any non-black person that grows up around black people, you can't ever forget that you're not black. And we'll give you an example, the N-word. When I used to do music, I had brothers encouraging me to use the N-word.
Really?
Ain't nobody gonna fuck with you unless you use the N-word. I was like, well, then I guess I'm not fucking with it. Wow. Because I'm not doing it that. That's a word that was created to dehumanize. Y'all took it as a term of endearment. That's your choice. And you took the power away from it and all that. That ain't my word to use, man. Like, so, and then when people say, I would have brothers say to me, I remember when I went to college for you, they was trying to get me to pledge the black fraternities. I was like, no. Again, these were set up because you were excluded from other things. Y'all need to have that. I don't need to be in that.
Say that.
You know what I mean? And then for things like, I would have brothers all the time say to me, oh, you ain't white, you black. Well, no, I'm not. Because again, when I'm in the car by myself, they not pulling me over and putting us face down on Bancroft like Berkeley PD did. When y'all in my car, they act different.
Yeah.
So no, I'm not black.
That's so interesting that you said, and I feel like maybe that's the energy that you that's why you're so, because you have a warm, welcoming energy, right? And I think because you're so authentic and genuine in that stance and many more, it makes it like so easy to connect with you.
I hope so.
Even for myself.
I'm
sure
man.
Even for your white people in the refinery when you got into that.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because when I got there, I had I'm sure you had it when you got to New Mexico State. I'm like this all day because you on guard, motherfucker. The first motherfucker that say something to me, and I had. We would park in the parking lot, and then they would put us in a big ass flatbed and drive us to wherever the work was in the refinery, right? And you're bouncing around the fucking back of the truck, and I'm like this, not talking to nobody. And I had my boy Steve Rose and Ed Story. They were just goofy, fun motherfuckers. And after like fucking a week or two, they see the dude that won't talk to nobody, and one of them looked at me and said, "Hey, it's okay to smile," and it just disarmed me and made me laugh. And from that day on, it was on.
Dope,
but
man.
it took me a minute to open up. But once I did, I did open up.
But I mean, you have been through so much in that moment.
Yeah.
Like myself, it's like you grow up, you grow these trust issues that are like unmeasurable growing up in the inner city. Man. It's like amazing.
It's trauma, yo.
Yeah. I mean, look at you. You had your right hand man essentially.
Yeah.
Try to kill you.
Try to kill me.
That's
blast me in the face.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your company a little bit.
Okay.
What is it called?
Eco-based services.
Eco-based services. You're the vice president of that. How did that kind of come about?
So I my grind in construction, like I said, I gave you those things that I came up. I started, and this is going to be construction fucking terms that people probably don't care about, but I'll try to make it as I came in as an insulator, mechanical insulator, and those are the ones, if you pass by the refinery, you see the big pipes with the silver metal on them. So underneath that metal is insulation. So they insulate those pipes so it keeps whatever product is running, whether it's steam, whether it's oil, whatever, keeps it at a certain temperature.
Yep.
In commercial buildings, like if you go into Chase Arena, you look up, you see a duct with all that silver foil on it. That's insulation. Or you see the pipes with the white the white pipes, right? You've seen those.
Yep.
So that's what insulators do. So I got in as an insulator, which is a very niche contracting thing. Got in as that. But in the old days, they put asbestos on the pipes. So the Local 16 was called the Heat and Frost Insulators and Asbestos Workers back in the day. So the OGs put the asbestos on, and then years later they got paid to take it off. So the laborers, Local 67, do just asbestos abatement, and that's more demolition centric. So in this room, you know, there might be joint compound that has asbestos in it, right? So it's not a problem. But if we want to break that wall down, now we got to set up containment.
Got you. That makes sense.
And just bear with me. So as an insulator apprentice, you can run abatement work.
Okay. And
that's what the transition I made when Stan said, you know, you got to, the way you talk ain't gonna work. So I got introduced to the abatement world, and the guy who got me in the trade, Marcello Barbero, shout out Marcello. He was an insulator who was one of the pioneers of asbestos abatement at UC Berkeley, and he kind of created the industry.
Got you.
So he got me in the trade, and then as he saw that I stuck in the trade, he's like, all right, I want you to come work for me. So he's he's the most impactful adult male that I had in my life, man. He just really is. I mean, we had a little bit of a falling out, but I'll always love him, and I'll always give him that because he changed my life.
That's dope.
Like, he wouldn't even hire me until I turned out as a mechanic, journeyman, because he knew that was, no matter what happened to me, if I got out of the trade, I paid $50, I'm making fucking $70 an hour. That was my security. That was my degree.
God, that's why you said that earlier.
Yeah, that's why he did right by me. He was gonna hire me before I turned out as a journeyman, and he said, nope, you got to finish first. And so that was the first time I ever finished something. And so to this day, I got my brown card.
Dope,
if I'm on my ass tomorrow, I ain't got to go back to the block.
Right.
I pay $50 and I'm making fucking $150,000 an hour.
That's dope.
So what was the question? I got off track.
No, just how you kind of got into starting your own company.
So then I worked for this company called ResTech under Marcello for like 10, 11, 12 years. And as a superintendent, then as an estimator, project manager. And, short story is they pissed me off. And I met my current partner just on a humbug on a job walk. And what you got going on? He had just started his company. And he's like, I need a partner. And they had pissed me off. So I said, all right, fuck it, I'm gone. And so I went, he was just super talented, super bright. And I saw something in him. He saw something in me. And we connected and we just took off, man.
We didn't, that's amazing, by the way, first of all. We didn't talk much about music, so I kind of want to get into that a little bit. And then, because I heard about the thing you did with Mr. Fab, so can you kind of walk, and again, if you don't want to share.
No, it's good.
Okay.
It's good.
How did that come about, like linking with Fab? And then we'll talk about your music.
Okay. So how did I meet Fab? I think I met him, I think Chewy introduced us. Chewy Gomez introduced us. Me and Chewy go way back because when I made music, Chewy was
at 106 still.
Huh?
He was at 106.
He was at 106, but he was cool with my partner Chucky Lovebug. Anybody from Filma knows Lovebug. And so Chewy had us up to 106. Blah blah blah. But I think that's who introduced me to Fabby. No, yes, he introduced me. But then Big Rich, my son was doing music, and Big Rich was kind of mentoring my son Dante. And Fab was doing one of his showcases, and so Dante came up there, and then Rich introduced me to Fab, and we just kind of hit it off. He reminds me of my brother who passed away, and we just hit it off. And so I would pop by the old Dope Air store, chop it up with him and shit. And we just developed a friendship and a brotherhood. And then when you want me to get into the story part? So then he got the spot on 19th and Broadway, and he hit me up and said, "Big bro, I need you to come see this spot." And it was the old Mad Hatter. You remember that store, Mad Hatter on 19th? And so I went to see it, and it was fucking massive, dude. Remember, the old spot was in North Oakland was tiny. Yeah. I mean, it was like smaller than this room.
Right.
And I look at this big ass space. I'm like, God damn, you got this much merchandise? It's gonna swallow your whole shit. He was like, what should we do? And I was like, and then I started thinking of construction in San Francisco, and I'm just like, damn. I'm like, bro, you looking at $500,000 to $1 million in 8 months of no revenue. And he was like, fuck. I said, or we could just throw some people at it and build it out. He said, let's do that.
Wow.
And in typical Fab fashion, he said, "Can we have it done at First Friday?" That was fucking 10 days away.
Wow.
Bro, we demoed the whole motherfucking store and built it out in 10 days.
No fucking way.
Swear to God. 10 motherfucking days. The store you in right now that you see took 10 days.
Wow.
And we opened that motherfucker on First Fridays, yo. And I did it because, number one, I love Stanley. I love him. That is my brother. I feel like he is one of the most intelligent and well-read men that I know. I need to read more. Whenever I'm around him, I realize I got to read more. You know? I mean, I just, people don't understand how well-read he is. But he is, just a beautiful human. But he's given a lot to the Bay, man. He's given a lot to the town, but he's given a lot to the Bay and the culture.
And he stays true to it.
And he stays true to it. And I felt like I need to look out for him in something that I can do. This other part of it was that hip hop, I'm not a religious person, but hip hop has been basically my religion. It's what's grounded me. It's what's given me my center. I'm talking about hip hop. You know what I mean? Just talking about rap. I'm talking about the culture.
I can tell by your shirt. And
yeah, you know what I mean? That's
taking it back to the essence, man.
To the essence of what something from nothing.
Yep.
We ain't got instruments, so we gonna take mom and dad's records and we gonna grab the drums from that. We gonna grab the horns from that.
Yep.
We gonna put it on the turntable and this motherfucker gonna tell a story to it. What? That's fucking gorgeous, man. And then when you add in the graffiti writers and the b-boys breakdance and the DJ, which I don't know who made the decision that the DJ is not a part of music anymore, but that's fucked up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like scratching and all that shit. So the elements of hip hop, right? And then the MC, of course. I've always, considered myself a poet. I'm named after a poet. So I feel like I've taken a lot from hip hop in terms of taking it from and I felt like this was my opportunity to give something to the culture.
Amazing.
And Justin, I damn near come to tears thinking about this. That store, every major hip hop artist in the motherfucking world that comes to the Bay stops by the Dope Era store. They don't know I built it, but I know I built it. We built it, me, Stanley, and my guys. And I'm fucking proud of that, man.
You should be.
I'm proud.
Not only because of the finished result, but it's like the method behind it, the thought process behind it, the why. You know what I mean? And just even for somebody like yourself, you're just such a such a humble person. And
I'm humble, cocky.
You and I was about to say that you kept saying how that you have your cocky ways, and I feel like we all do. But I think that's because I struggle with that. It's like I hope that doesn't sound too arrogant. You know what I mean?
No,
like
I
when
know
I
what
say
you
certain
mean.
things.
I know what you mean.
But it's like if we're not gonna tell our truth, who is?
Yeah.
And that's all you're doing is telling again, just like. It's the truth is the truth. Like I'm not making this shit up.
But and again, Fab's one of the people that's pushed me to tell my story, and what an incredible thing to do, right?
Man,
like some people wouldn't want that story told.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
That's amazing, man. So the project that you did that you mentioned to me earlier, is that project out?
It's on SoundCloud, but I haven't put it on any of the streaming platforms. So I did music back in the day. And, I came up, Dre Dog, well, Andre Nicotine is his name now, but Andre, and my brother Denfield were really tight. They played hoops together. And me and Dre and Scat and Cleo and Theta Weeda and all, we used to be rapping in the basement, just fucking around, having fun. And I would get on there, and I loved hip hop, so I started rapping. But I was just doing it to fucking just whatever. And I remember leaving, and my brother Vino, the one who passed, and my brother Jeffrey Anthony, my brother, they both was like, bro, they wasn't talking about Dre Dog. They was like, bro, you better than all of them. You need to fucking do this shit. Like, you need to do this shit. And I was like, I ain't doing that shit. At the time, the white rappers, there was the Beastie Boys, and that was about it. And then fucking Vanilla Ice came out, which was embarrassing.
That did more harm than good.
No, for real. Like, it did a lot of fucking harm. Like, you say that, it's funny, it did a lot of harm, bro. There was third base. Third base was raw. But you know, I was just always conscious of not taking from the culture in that way. But then I was like, well, it feels good to say this shit. I'm getting shit off my chest, and my boys was telling me I was raw, so I started fucking with it. And started making music. So Andre Nicotina, you also got to remember at the time, you didn't have shit like this, yo.
Right.
A studio hookup was fucking damn near impossible.
Yeah.
Like to get a studio was fucking hard, yo. Like studio and weed now is those are the two hardest things to get back in the day.
And
yo.
now you can find them anywhere.
So he hooked me up with this guy named Mark V, who actually produced Killer Whale. I'm a Pisces, but I'd rather be a killer whale. You know that song? If you heard it, you know that song, Justin? I'm a Pisces, but it's a dope song. One of Dre's, I think on his second album. And so
I like that he's a Pisces though, because I am too.
Okay, well there you go. There you go. So Dre and Coog Nut was real tight back in the day. And so Dre and Coog Nut worked out of the studio. Actually, IMP worked out of there. A lot of people worked there. It was on Polk Street. And it was a white dude named Mark V. So Dre said, come on up here. So Dre hooked me up with Mark V. We did 2 songs together. System and Life is a Test. I did those 2 songs. And Mark V loved me and said, we're going to do an album. This is when In a Minute Records was going and all that shit. I mean, this is some OG shit right here. But so Mark V and I was going to do an album, and Coog Nut, you know, he got me a lot of confidence too. He's like, you know, that rough ass voice, like you raw as fuck, P.
You do have a distinct voice.
Oh man, that voice was crazy. And Coog Nut was beautiful. Rest in peace, man. He was a beautiful dude, man. So they really encouraged me. So I was like, all right, fuck, I'm gonna fuck with this, man. This was my whole music career in a encapsulated. So Mark V was gonna do an album with me. One of the people he was fucking with, he also sold weed. So I talked about weed and studio. This motherfucker had both. But he was a square, but he was cool as fuck. He was cool as fuck. So he was serving weed, and one of the dudes who was using the studio and buying weed said, I need to get some weed. So he had the dude come to his house. Dude comes to his house and says, you know, he serves him or whatever. And the dude's leaving. I'm not going to say who it was. And the dude's leaving and he says, nah, man, fuck that. Give me all your shit, man. Give me all your weed, all your guns, all your money. He didn't have no motherfucking guns, but he broke himself. He gave him all his weed, all his money. Dude was leaving. He stopped at the door again. He said, nah, man, fuck that, man. You motherfuckers gave me AIDS, man. You white motherfuckers gave my people AIDS, man. Put a pillow over his head and popped him in the motherfucking head.
No fucking way.
Straight up, bro. Straight up. But he lived.
What?
He lived, bro. So he knew my story. He called me. He's like, did you know it? I said, man, hell no, I didn't. I'm devastated, man. And he was like, I'm out, man. He's like, I'm leaving. So he bounced. He moved back to LA, man. He left.
Wow. So you didn't get to do the album?
Didn't get to do the album. So yeah, so he gets shot, man, and that fucks that up. But I keep working. I'll keep working, doing my thing, and you know. So my boy Chucky Lovebug starts doing a label called Royal Prestige, and all the Filmo rappers there, Forte, everybody. So we start recording out of Pajama Studios in Oakland. You know where that is? That's where the Loonies did 5 on and all that. It's right there in Jack London.
That's fire.
So to this day, I probably got 50 songs in that motherfucker in the closet somewhere on the old reel-to-reel shit, you know? So I'm working or whatever, and then I had a girlfriend at the time, Libra, whose family was from L.A., and she had, shout out Libra, that was my heart. Her uncle was in the business, and he was connected with Mike Conception. You know who that is?
I know the name.
He's one of the founding members of the Crips. It's Kendrick Lamar's uncle.
Okay.
And he had a label called Grand Jury Records.
Okay.
So they swooped me up. It's like, we heard you can rap. So they took me to Pomona, bro. And there was another white producer in there. This motherfucker, and this was a 48 track.
Lavish.
And he put on some Dre shit, bro. Like straight up some Dre shit. He said, can you write to this? I said, hell yeah. I sat my ass in the booth and wrote a whole ass song. Recorded the song on the spot. I wish I had it to this day. Recorded the song on the spot, and they offered me a contract the next day.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. But I turned it down. You know, back then it was independent. I'm like, man, I'm finna be independent, man. I'm finna do like So I didn't sign the contract, man.
Wow.
So, and then, you know, shit just kept happening, you know. It's like producers getting shot, producers moving away, that, and this.
Unfortunately, it's the hip hop music industry. It's
you know,
like
and then the money it took. The money it took.
And the money that's available now wasn't available then.
No, and the only way to get it was so I had a choice. Now the trade becomes available. I got the 2 kids and the wife, the music. As a man, you got to look at your options and say, should I fuck around with this dream or this? And so I did that.
That makes sense.
I did the construction trades, and I abandoned my creativity, man, and it always pulled at me, man.
Talk about, obviously you're such a family-oriented person. When I say family, you've mentioned brothers, you've mentioned, I don't like calling people stepkids, but kids.
No, I don't use that term. Yeah,
kids that aren't biologically yours. Obviously the neighborhood, like the family vibe that you got, that you were welcome with. Right. So talk about what it meant to have your own kids.
Man, you trying to make me cry here? You want to cry?
Shit, you almost made me cry earlier, man. So that's payback.
so my oldest babies, and thank you for recognizing the step thing. Like that's something I love about our culture too. We don't fuck around with that step.
Exactly.
If you take
family
on
is family.
If you take on 2 kids, that your kids, man. Exactly. You better do all you need to do for them. So, and actually, part of the story is that my 2 older kids, Napresha and Demetrius, Napoleon, he likes to be called Napoleon now. Their biological father is London Breed's brother.
Okay.
So if you've heard London's story, they always talk about the brother who's incarcerated. That's my kid's biological father.
Wow.
Yeah, it's deep, man. It's deep. So London and I, are like brother and sister too. So, but anyway, we the 2 older kids, everyone says, oh man, you raised those kids. That was incredible. Nah, let me tell you something. Them kids changed my life. Them kids saved my life. You know what I mean? They saved my life, man. They gave me purpose, man. They gave me inspiration, and you got babies.
Yeah.
Once you make that commitment, it don't matter if they came from your balls or not.
At all.
And especially when, Sonny was down, like I was all they had, man. They didn't have another option. So, I ended up adopting. I went to see Sonny. First it was almost a war, but then he quickly realized, man, this dude's a good dude.
Right,
he's doing what I can't do. But I didn't want to adopt the kids. It came up.
Oh,
because,
you actually adopted them?
Yeah, because I had these great benefits coming in, and they wasn't my kids. Right. By the law.
Right.
So I was like, man, I need to. We probably should talk about this. And so I talked to my wife at the time, Jessica, and she was like, and I said, well, I ain't doing it unless I talk to Sonny in person.
That's so commendable.
I went to jail. He was at 850 at the time, and I sat down. I said, this is what I think we should do as a family. And I included him. I said, but I'm not doing this unless you're okay with it, because I don't want you to feel like you're just being replaced. Because you do that too, like that's just fucked up.
Yeah, especially at his lowest moment too.
Right, and it actually came full circle, because I'll get to that. So I have the 2 older kids. So he was like, nah, Patrick, thank you, man. I want you to do that. So I adopted them. They legally my adopted kids, man.
That's dope.
So then me and Jessica had our own son, Dante. And then we split up. I ended up having a kid by a girl in New Jersey, Jalen. And I didn't get to see Jalen. So I experienced another man raising my child. So I know what that feels like. You know what I mean? I know what that feels like. Now that's my baby. We good. And then I had my youngest son, Liam. He's 8 years old.
So you have 3?
So I got 5.
Well, I'm sorry. Yeah. You're right. I'm glad you corrected
3 baby mamas.
Right.
I'm that dude. 5 kids, 3 baby mamas. I'm that dude.
I wonder because it seems like everything that you've experienced, it's almost like you got a chance to see the other side of it. I wonder how much of a part that plays in just.
It's a good point.
Your personality.
I never thought of that. It must, right? Like I've felt both sides of it. Yeah, it must have an impact on it, man. And that's what you have to do. I think empathy is an underrated Is it a character? Is it a characteristic?
I think so.
I mean, it's an important one. Like
so important.
If we can look at another human being and say, acknowledge what they're going through or what they are or what they feel like, then we value them more. They become more human to us. They become more relatable to us. So I think empathy is, I think some people have empathy and some people don't, but I think it's something you can work at. Mm-hmm. It'd be a good question for our therapist.
Man, right. Don't get me started, man. I could talk to you all fucking
Come on,
day.
Man.
So before I let you go, talk to me about the New Mexico State thing, man.
Okay. Did you want me to finish on what I did with the album or no?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
But I do want to tell you the New Mexico story. So the album. So you know, my kids have been into music. Big Rich and Fab have been in my life. So I've, you know, and my son Dante was making music, working with all the local producers, Bakary Burner, Drew Banger, Jay Ant, you know, everybody, man. And then I met CT Beats at the Dope Era store. So I had all these people, DTB, Zach, all these people. And I was in the studio all the time, and it would make me reminisce in my mind. I was like, this is cool, you know what I mean? And I never would rap or nothing like that, but I would fucking just be around it. And so my brother passed 5 years ago, and he was the one who was always pushing me to do music. My brother Vino Roberts, San Francisco legend, greatest point guard in the history of San Francisco. Ask Gary Payton about
That's
it.
dope.
He hit 38 on Gary Payton in the
shit.
All-Star game. So Vino could go. Went to Balboa High School, 1985 Player of the Year, San Francisco.
Oh, wow.
So Vino and my other brother Nate were always mad at me for not rapping. They were like, motherfucker, you was Eminem before Eminem. I mean, Eminem's better than me, but I mean, just,
I know what you mean.
You know what I mean? Just like a dude who could rap, whatever. So white dude who could rap. So Vino was like, man, just give me one album. Just make one album for me. And I never did it. So Vino passed, and a lot of changes in my life, and I was just like, you know, and I started talking to Jay Ant. Shout out Jay Ant. Now he's Jay Anthony or Play Anthony, but he's like, man, you need to do it, P. I'm gonna send you some beats. And he's like, so I said, well, take these samples, and I sent him some samples, and man, he flipped the shit out of them.
Really?
Man. And sent them back up to me, and it just came pouring out, bro.
It's fire, man.
It came pouring out, and CT Beats gave me a song that actually Alley Cocaine and Fab jumped on.
Oh, wow.
And then Bakary Burner, who's my nephew. I love Bakary. That's my guy.
Oh, I follow him on Twitter. I don't know him personally, but I
That's
follow
my
him on
guy,
Twitter.
man. He's a sweet, sweet soul. He gave me 2 songs. Actually, the first song, and me and my cousin used to rap together. We was the partners in crime. My cousin, he was too busy, but he gave me one song, and I did the other song solo. Tyler Reese, who's an amazing singer from Oakland. Oh my God, she's a star. She did a hook.
I'm an R&B guy, so I need to tap in, man.
Oh, she is. Tyler Reese is a monster, yo.
tap
She's, and I'm gonna tell you, she's an MC too.
Really?
She can control a crowd, bro. She's incredible.
I'm a go ahead. I'll let you.
Yeah, so I made the album anyway. I'll make it quick. The album,
you're good. You're good.
The album, man, was therapy for me, man, and it was the album I always wanted to make. I'm really proud how it came out.
That's fire.
So to you asked did I drop it? I put it up on SoundCloud just to share with people. I don't think I could get the samples clear because there's some pretty big samples on there. But I also, you know, I'm not sure but I probably might at some point. But really, what it was for, Justin, it was for my village. It's for people. It's for my babies. When I pass, they can turn it on and listen to it. I'll send it to you. You can listen to people that I love, admire, and respect. It's just so that's what it's for right now.
That's
Everyone's
fire.
trying to push me to push it out, but I don't know if I'm going to.
That's fire. But I love when we do things just for our passion, man, and not for any type of monetary gain or
for sure.
publicity or anything. Sometimes it's good to just get that shit off our chest. Man.
No, for sure.
I have some of my what I think are my best episodes or best like that haven't even seen the light of day yet, and probably won't because they're so old. Yeah,
wow.
Because it's not often that my guests get me to talk a lot because I try to just sit back and just. You know,
I like the way I like when you talk. It's good.
I like it too.
It's good. It's dope. I feel like I'm talking too much.
I love when my guests get me to talk because it's just so it's more information for the audience.
For sure, it's more conversation.
I mean? Yeah.
So how was New Mexico State?
Ooh, that was interesting, man.
And that's what's the name of the town? Las Cruces. And so how was it? Was that town just like?
It was different because I was fresh off the Oakland streets, and I was
dealing
dealing with
brother.
a lot of what you dealt with. So it came to the point where, like, at that point, we were fresh off the hyphy era. So it's like, in a party, if you shake your dreads in my face, that's disrespectful. So I might push you over the DJ booth because of the space I was in at that moment.
Right.
It got so bad, man. My older teammates. I had a guy named Wendell McKinnis who's like a Bay Area Oakland. He's from Richmond. He went to Richmond High, Oakland ties, but he's like a legend in basketball. Yeah. He's a few years older than me, so he was a junior when I was incoming freshman. But it got so bad at that point. And mind you, I'm a little guy. I'm like 6.
Not that little.
At the time, I'm like,
okay, but in that
I'm
world,
like 6'1",
right,
6'2". I'm like maybe 180.
So in that D1, you small. In D1, you small. I mean? So you definitely small. You was good then.
Oh yeah, I was pretty good. but I hope that doesn't sound arrogant.
No, I don't. That's what it is.
But it got so bad, man. I swear to God, I kid you not. The upperclassmen set me they called me over to Windows house, sat me down and said, and they's like, man, Just, you ever notice that whenever you walk into the locker room, everybody gets quiet? And I'm like, damn. I'm like, for real?
They don't want to say the wrong thing.
So now it's processing, and I'm like, fuck, because again, I'm charismatic. People love me. Always was popular.
From the town.
Known in the basketball world and from being outside. So it's like I'm loved. You know what I mean? It's like, damn, like y'all don't like being around me. Why? Bro, you be tripping over the smallest shit.
Some face shit.
You know what I mean? So it's like that's what Las Cruces was for me. It was like an eye opener.
But that's valuable.
Oh yeah, and I'm glad I went there. I still talk to some of them dudes to
that's
this
beautiful.
Day.
That's the best part of sports.
Yeah. So tell me your story about.
Well, mine's real. Mine just has to do with So Vino was a legend, but he was. Right. As we talked about a little bit, the city had ball players, man. People don't know that, man. We just all fucked up. We was all fucked up.
Really, the whole Northern California, man. LA gets a lot of the spotlight.
Right.
But I take real pride in being a NorCal.
You put together,
more specifically Oakland, but
you put together an all-star team from the city, Oakland, and LA, and it's gonna be.
Yeah.
I mean, the city might win, Oakland might win. Like we got ballers,
it's gonna be a battle. It's gonna be.
So I teased Jim about that because I think Jim had a game against the city.
Yeah, I was supposed to be, man. Put it like this.
I told him, I said, man,
put it like this. All the people that were involved in putting that together, they dropped the ball and not including me in that.
I bet.
Because at the moment, I had just took the MAC job, and I was having private open gyms for all my pro friends.
Right.
So I had Juan Toscano Anderson from the Warriors in there, Will Cherry,
ballers,
Davion. I have like D Hoopers in there. You know what I mean? And this is private, so invite only. Right. Only 15 people can come. So it's three teams of 5 running the whole time. So it was like we had it so controlled. He was coming to film it sometimes.
Dope, man.
We put it on YouTube. So at that moment, it's like, bro, why y'all didn't tap in with Justin? So a lot of the main Oakland Hoopers didn't even play.
Got you.
So it was like,
I'm
standing on that. I'm standing, and it's so funny because every summer since then we've been talking about putting that back together.
I gave Jim hell on that one.
Yeah, and I know his Jim's close friend Trig passed away recently, and I'm sure you're probably a little familiar with that. But I know he was a vital point in putting that together, and a lot of Leaky Bo and all the youngins are like my young partners or whatever.
Right.
But I do want to eventually get back into like throwing tournaments and fun events
dope.
like that.
It's dope to do because it really does bring people together, which is always done.
Exactly.
Whether it's Ella Hill, Midnight League, I'm sure y'all have Midnight Leagues too.
Still do. They still do the Midnight League.
But Vino was this great basketball player, but he, his shit got sidetracked or whatever. So then, did you ever know Lauren Marshall, Teeter Marshall? So Teeter came through in the 90s. Teeter went to Jeff, won a state championship. Jeff. The difference between Vino and Teeter is Vino was 5'7". Teeter was 6'7". And Teeter was incredible, bro. Like you know how in the Kezar Summer League they would give away MVP and then they would give most inspirational, which was basically MVP runner-up. Right? Am I lying? Okay, you know what I'm talking about. So the year that Gary and Jason, I think it was Bay Pride. Is that who they play for?
I know that is a team, so that might be. I don't know if that's.
I don't know. Yeah, and I think my guy Jasmine and JoJo's dad, who owns Halftime.
James.
James. Yeah, I think he was on that team too.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know he was a hooper.
Yeah,
I knew he was tapped in because a lot of people that I know.
Yeah, he was a hooper.
That's what's up.
So it was Gary and Jason, him, and other cats played against whatever team Teeter was playing for. I can't remember. Like he was so good that the fucking trophy was like this big, but like I remember, we was just thugged out deep. Like we had, how they had at the corner, the wings, right? We had that whole first part of the wing, just all of us, like 25 deep. And Teeter got the trophy, walked over and sat down on the floor with all of us behind him. And Gary and Jason came over to talk to Vino after because they both knew Vino, especially Gary knew Vino because they played it because they were both 85. No, yeah, Gary was 85 or 86. No, 86. I'm tripping. They were 86. So they were 1986, and Gary was Oakland Player of the Year, and Vino was Frisco Player of the Year.
Wow!
So they had love for each other, and Gary came over to Vino and said, "He going to the league, bro. Your brother's going to the league, man."
That's dope.
Like he told him straight up there. So we was excited. So it was straight out of Boys in the Hood though, because the coach from New Mexico State, the old white, anybody from my era remember them because they had a hell of a run. So the year after they went to the Elite Eight, they came to get Teeter.
Okay.
It was the white-haired dude, and he came to Grandma's house on Barneville in the city, and we sat that motherfucker down for an interview, just.
Really?
He had to be like, Yo, we was grilling it. What are your plans for Teeter? Like, what offense are you gonna like, motherfucker? Like, we knew what we was talking about. We was on his ass, boy.
Dope,
but he stood up to it.
That's dope.
And Teeter went down there and ended up getting shot down there. But
what?
Frisco Jinx, man. Ended up getting. This is what I'm saying. This story is the same. So he goes down there at a frat party at UTEP.
Yeah.
You played against, that was in your league, right?
Yeah, because you fly into El Paso and it's 45 minutes from Las Cruces. So you would fly into El Paso and drive to New Mexico State.
Got it.
Yeah.
So there was some party, somebody popped him.
And we always partied in El Paso.
Somebody popped him in the leg, but it was with a pistol. He was okay. But I don't know what happened, but they blamed him or some shit happened, but he came home. So he plays in that. That was the year he played in the summer league, and he was tearing their ass up. And then that summer he was on the hill doing his thing, and somebody came up to him and said, "Break yourself." And my brother wouldn't break himself. Wow. The dude blasted him in the leg with a shotgun, buckshot, blew his whole leg apart, man. Wow. He never played again, bro.
What the fuck, man? That is
Frisco Jinx, man. That's a shitty way to end it, bro.
I know, man. It's like, how do I segue out of that?
My bad.
No. I mean, shit. It's the truth. Again, the truth is the truth.
This is the life we lived, man. And
this was a dope ass conversation,
bro. I had the time of my life.
This was fucking amazing.
I'm just very grateful to you.
I just want to commend you, man, for just who you are as a person. Just hearing someone, like I say, just speak the way you speak about your love and appreciation for everything around you, as far as community, as far as what you've done for people. Like I said, I know we can go. There's probably a laundry list of just shit you've done, and it's just for somebody who I try to be really authentic in my ways as well. It's like to see someone do things and not really want anything from it, and just want to help and be that, like, that's just so fucking dope to me, man.
Thank you.
I just want to say thank you for
so
that.
much.
Obviously, thank you for sharing your story.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful I got to meet you, because I feel like this is what I love about this, because when I get to sit down with people, it sparks a connection between
for sure. We connected for life.
Yeah, I just
you
feel
stuck with me now, bro.
I'm glad you beat me to it.
You stuck with me now.
That's exactly what I was about to say, man. You're gonna have to deal with me, man.
Nah, that's what it is.
But this is so dope, bro. And
thank you.
In any way I can help, JB right here is my brother as well, man. This dude is great at shooting music videos. We do video production stuff. I'm marketing anything I can do to help you and what you have going. Any of your friends that are artists, anybody that anything,
for sure.
anything. I'm a resource. All of my resources are at your expense.
And the same goes away. We talked about the nonprofit. Like, I'm there for you. I'm a phone call away. Whatever you need, just hit me up.
We gotta go. We gotta set up a day to go have some lunch, man.
No,
and then that way we can sit down and talk about some shit.
I would love that.
Well, Patrick, man, this was dope, man. I appreciate you coming down, man.
Man, this has been it's really special, man.
Yeah,
really
that's
special.
dope, man. We're gonna let us out with a round of applause, man. Signing out, man.
All right, peace. Thank you.